Welcome, race fans, to the glorious Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. My name is Rishav Khosla, bringing you guys the start of our 2022 Joint APS Cup Series Championship. We've got qualifying here for the Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500, as well as the DH Design Duels just a little bit later tonight. It's almost 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's when the first car will roll off. So we're going to show you guys all of the single car qualifying that'll be taking place, as well as we'll hopefully get a chance to speak to some of our drivers coming into this race and coming into this new season and what their expectations are. Once again, this is the Elite Racing Network. Of course, want to thank Chad Frankenfield, who's put together this great season. Another great group of drivers who are going to be trying to race their way in. And let's talk you guys through the process of this qualifying here. So the qualifying format is there are 40 chartered drivers. They're all locked into qualifying and locked into the Daytona 500. So they'll be racing right now for their starting positions in the duels, and the top two drivers in qualifying, those guys get the front row. Now, for open drivers, things are a little bit different. We've got 18 open drivers. Only 6 of them will be making the race next Wednesday. So the fastest open driver in single car qualifying, which is what you're watching right now, they'll make it through on that speed. Then the 2 highest finishers in each duel, in terms of open cars, those guys will also make the race. And then there will also be... let me just double check here as we're just getting a quick message here from Race Control. But there'll be the top open car that isn't those top 2 that finishes between each of those duels will also advance. So total of 6 open drivers advancing here tonight. 18 will be attempting. So you can very quickly see just how many drivers we're going to have going home. And with that, as we're just about to tick over to 7 o'clock, we've got our first driver heading out onto the racetrack. And that's going to be Robert Hill in that number 05 paint scheme for the crew chiefs. We'll take a look and see what he can run tonight. So you'll see the best time there. That's from earlier today in practice. That's not going to be too representative because a lot of these guys were getting lap times in the draft. So what's important for these guys right now is going to be this non-draft lap time, making sure they can maximize the pace of their cars around this racetrack, and he's getting ready, loading up for that run to the start-finish line into the tri-oval to start this first lap. So tricky to get a lap perfectly done around Daytona because these guys are flat out all the way around the racetrack. It's all about hugging that bottom lane as closely as possible. As actually there he completes his first run, so we just caught the tail end of that as he goes slamming into the wall there to end that. So yeah, how about that? Craig Arvanite's now just heading over to the start-finish line. He'll start his first flying lap in that number 43 car. So with that, Robert Hill should be on timing and scoring relatively soon here. We're going to wait for the update there. Hopefully we'll see that come in. Craig Arvanite's then a little bit off, about a car length off of the bottom yellow line there. These drivers are not allowed to use the apron at any point on this racetrack. So they've got to make sure that they're staying well above that yellow line, not cutting underneath there. Craig Arvanite's does a good job at avoiding that as well. There we go. Robert Hill, that update does go in. Craig Arvanite's, he's going to cross the line now with a 50.494. So he now bumps Robert Hill off from that top position. So right now, as it stands, just 2 cars qualified. Craig Arvanite's the man qualifying in on pure speed. Next out on the racetrack, Mark Rebelas in that number 11 Bitcoin machine. Heading around, looks like he might be on an out lap here. Kyle Walgreen just getting loaded up. Mark Rebelas way up high on the racetrack. We'll see what the call is there from Race Control. As he heads around there, 177 miles an hour into turn number 3. We're going to keep an eye on that, see what kind of speed can we expect drivers to be carrying into turns 3 and turns 1 on their flying laps. It's all about carrying as much speed as possible. As here comes Mark Revelas. This should be the end of his flying lap, I do believe, even though those lines were not great there for that 96. He's going to have some work to do, I think, in the duels for sure. As his time goes in there, you see a 50.723. Kyle Walgreen now is going to come to the line to start his lap in that number 36 car. After Walgreen comes Joey Chapman. These are going to come fast at you. These guys, basically, as soon as one driver finishes his run, just behind him is another driver starting his qualifying run. So we get through these guys pretty quickly. These top 18 drivers, the first 18 drivers that go through, they're the ones you want to pay attention to in terms of open drivers. So the last open driver that we're going to see come through, I believe, is going to be, if we take a look here, it should be Caleb Thompson. Should be the 18th driver to come on through here. So coming off of turn 4, here comes Kyle Walgreen. And we'll see what kind of lap time can he put up. Can he unseat Craig Arvanites, who currently sits atop the timing and scoring sheet? There goes Kyle Walgreen then with a 50.589. So Craig Arvanites stays on top. Joey Chapman should be on the racetrack right now. There he is. And off of turn number 2, we're going to watch that staying around that 176 mile an hour mark. We see a little bit of jumping there in timing and scoring, but 177, he's carrying a lot of speed here. If he can jump up 179 heading into turn 3. Big speed here from this 32 car down the straightaways. He got a good run, I think, off that back straight. Let's see if he's able to continue to carry that momentum forward. And he does, but just misses out from Craig Arvanites. So Joey Chapman then slots in just behind him. Now we've got Alexander Gray in that Cincinnati Bengals paint scheme there. See what he can do here down this back straightaway. Ooh, and a little bit of a blink there. Take a look as he comes off of turn number 4, a little bit high off the exit of 4. So this could be interesting with these cars. A little bit new aero package that they're going to have to be dealing with in the race trim. But in terms of single car qualifying, you'd expect the runs to be similar. 50.625 there. That's not going to be enough for him there. He's going to slot just ahead of Mark Revelas. See, some reason we're not getting an update here on timing and scoring. There it is. So Dustin Durer is supposed to be the next up on the racetrack after Ryan Schuld, who's out on the track right now. But he's not expected to roll here, looks like. Jordan Owens as well, just starting his out lap. He'll get ready to roll fairly soon here as well. Let's take a look here then. Ryan Schuld, what can he do? Across the line. Looked good in his own single-car qualifying runs. 50.429 early in the night, and it's a 50.516. It'll put him just ahead of Robert Hill, but not enough to be the man to transfer in on speed alone. See if we can figure out. We got a little bit of a glitch here with timing and scoring. We're going to see what we can figure out here as to why that's happening. Jordan Owens, the man who's on a flyer right now. And he comes across the line. Posts a 50.507, so he'll go second ahead of Joey Chapman. Once again, let's take a look here. We're gonna relaunch our timing and scoring here, guys. Just give us a quick second. See if we can figure out why we're having some issues there. As here we go, Jordan Owens does end up there on timing and scoring. Perfect. Should be back up to date. So now right on track is Joshua Hodges. Numbers don't seem to be lined up just yet here with the paint schemes that we're seeing on these guys' cars. So we do apologize for some of that there. We'll get those all fixed before the 500 itself. So Josh Hodges puts in a 50.604. Where does that put him on timing and scoring? There you go. There's the update from scoring for Joshua Hodges as he just peels off the racetrack. Meanwhile, on the racetrack right now, Tyler Dixon. You saw him just going past there. After Tyler Dixon's going to be Kendall Noah player, except he's not expected to run from what we're seeing here from race control. So it'll be Tyler Dixon, Alexander Vandesant, Jeffrey Razimus, Trey Holmes, Justin Fortner, Dylan Jones, and Caleb Thompson. And with that, we're getting very close to completing all of our runs here with the open cars, as there you go. So that's another one complete for Tyler Dixon. It's a 50.508 as he ties lap time there with Joey Chapman. Still, again, not enough to be able to advance just on time alone. Next up then is Alexander Vandesant. Made it to the Final Four last season. Knows how to get the job done here in the Cup Series. Knows how to win races, be competitive up front. Expect to see a strong lap time from this 97 car as he gets rolling now on his flying lap. Down the back straightaway here. 177. See if he can crack 78. 79, he does. Just for a brief moment, touches 179 as Vandesant heads into turn number 3. And across the line goes Vandesant. Lap time is 50.562. Not going to be enough for him either, running as an open driver this time around. Jesse Razimus in that Loop Toyota. Crosses the start-finish line to start their lap time. As here we go. We apologize for some of the flashing that you might see on timing and scoring. That's just the updating there. Trey Holmes, the car to come right after Razimus. As race control continues to call cars to the pit line, getting ready to send them out to start their flying laps here. So after Razimus, like I said, Trey Holmes, who's already out on the racetrack. Razimus coming across the line here. See what kind of lap time they put down. 50.469. There's the new fastest open driver. Jesse Razimus goes to the top of the timing sheets. How about that? Craig Arvanites, who looked to have one of the better time slots and one of the better times early on in this session. Loses out on that, so he's going to have to race his way in through the duels. Jesse Rasmus right now, the driver who is qualifying in as the open drivers. Trey Holmes, though, trying to be the one to change that. He wants to put that Mountain Dew Chevrolet Camaro at the top of the timing charts right now. We'll see what he can do. Heading into turn number 3. Saw that peak at 179 miles an hour once again, so we'll see Trey Holmes. What does this look like? And after him is going to be Justin Fortner taking to the racetrack. But Trey Holmes off of turn number 4 stays nice and low down by the yellow line. Now keep that run as short as possible to the start-finish straight. 50.476. Not going to be enough to beat Jesse. And, excuse me, I said Caleb Thompson would be the advancing car. It is actually Justin Fortner who will be the final car in the open qualifying, so the final open car. With that, let's ride the nose here of Justin Fortner around the bank here. You don't want to get too low. You'll scrub speed off if you get those tires on that, that yellow line there heading onto the apron. Oh. Never mind, getting another, I was correct the first time, another text there from Race Control. Caleb Thompson is, in fact, the final driver of open qualifying. So 3 more drivers still to go, including Justin Fortner here, who we're riding on board with. Round the final 2 corners and off of turn number 4, keeping it nice and low, middle of the racetrack at most, and then going back towards the bottom. Let's see what can Fortner accomplish here. 50.516. That's not going to be enough. It's still Jesse Rasmus as Caleb Thompson now. Or excuse me, Dylan Jones should have been expected to run, but Dylan Jones actually did not make it out here. So Caleb Thompson is, in fact, the last driver here. He's the last gasp effort for to try and get past Jesse Rasmus. They're 50.469. That's a quick lap time there by Jesse. Again, that would lock them into the race without even having to go through the duels, but Caleb Thompson could change that. All comes down to these final couple of corners. What kind of run can we expect here from Caleb Thompson? And here he comes across the line. Caleb Thompson with a 50.503. It's not enough. And Jesse Rasmus does, in fact, make it into the Daytona 500, the Homeplace Beer Daytona 500, off of qualifying. And now we get to the charter drivers, starting with Scott Haney. Scott Haney then off of turn number 2. Now we're all into charter drivers. So these drivers all are guaranteed to make the race. So now it's just for positions in the duel. Scott Haney going to go through turns 3 and 4, carrying good speed there in that number 3 car. As he heads off of turn number 4, again keeping it nice and low into the tri-oval. And across the line goes Scott Haney. We'll see the lap time there. Just come in a sec. Next on the racetrack, there's Michael Hossack, but it's Matthew Weeks right now who's running out on the racetrack, putting down his fast lap, heading off of turn number 2 and onto the back straightaway. Through turns 3 and 4, here he comes. Bunch of new paint schemes here, new looks for these drivers. It's going to be a bit crazy, especially when it comes to the duels, in terms of just identifying all these drivers, and we'll do our very best to make sure you guys get a chance to see all that here as Matthew Weeks comes across the line, puts down a 50.57. Where's that? 5.67, excuse me. And next out on the racetrack, then, Michael Hossack. Off of turn number 2, goes a little bit higher, I think, than we've seen some of these drivers go up off of 2, so trying to maybe carry a little bit more speed off. Let's see how that works for him heading down into turn number 3. Did see that tick over to 179 once again, so it's all going to come down to these final 2 corners, carrying good speed down the back straightaway. Such fine margins. Remember, these guys are running virtually the same setups on all of their cars. Some slight comfort adjustments in terms of steering ratios. However, as he crossed the line, Michael Hossack, 50.47 is what I'm seeing. Is that a provisional pole? It's not. 4.72 to Jesse Rasmus. Next out, then, Dustin Durer, running on the racetrack in that number 32. Memory Lane's bowling machine. And down the back straightaway. Through turns 3 and 4 for Dustin Durer, off of turn number 4, keeping it nice and low. You saw him actually go up a little bit high and then cut back down on the exit. So let's see how that affects his lap time. Cross the line for that 32 car. And Dustin Durer goes 15th fastest. Next up, we got his teammate Michael Goodman in the number 44 car. He just heads across the start-finish line. And off of turn number 2. Keeping it nice and low there. So a very different line to what we've seen from some other drivers here, where Dustin Durer, or excuse me, Michael Goodman, staying very, very low. Let's see how that translates into lap time. Cross the line he comes in that number 44 car. And the lap time is a 47.55 on timing and scoring. Where does that put him? Or excuse me, that wasn't right. That was a 50.59. 47 was his fastest of the session. So 50.59 puts him P16, just behind his teammate. Brent Jones then, the next driver out on the racetrack, number 89 from Michigan. Same line style that we're kind of seeing from from Michael Goodman. I think we saw it as well from Dustin Durer just a little bit. And he's going to come across the line here now. Number 89 of Brent Jones. Let's see what kind of time he puts in. Brent Jones, 50.545. Puts him P12 for the time being. Out on track then, Ethan Burrell. At number 37, Tide Pods Camry. We've seen that a couple of times with massive success there for that driver there, 37. He's hoping to have some repeat victories, get that car back in victory lane this season, put together another championship run. We'll see, though, how does this season start for him in terms of qualifying for the duels here. Heading off of turn 4 then for the number 37, Ethan Burrell. And across the line he goes. Let's take a look. Ethan Burrell, good lap time there. P4, 50.489. As we now head over to his teammate, David Tooker, who's just getting started on his flying lap. New livery here for David Tooker out in California. This number 19 Toyota Camry looking very nice there. After Tooker here, we're going to have Joshua Robin, who'll be the next driver to take to the racetrack. But Tooker, in the meantime, staying nice and low, painting that yellow line down this back straightaway, staying as close as he can through the corners as well. Going to get a little bit of distance there. Just save yourself from slowing down a little bit too much. As he gets real close, though, off of turn number 4. Again, keeping it tight against the yellow line. Let's see how this works out for David Tooker. Across the line he goes. And for Tooker, that puts him P8, 50.507. Josh Robin now in this number 8 Mountain Dew Ford Mustang. Across the line to start his flying lap. Waiting still to see who comes next after Josh Robin. As right now he's shown as the only car out on the racetrack. No one quite starting to get their wheels rolling just yet. We think it could be Scott Crump, and it is. He finally he gets rolling here, gets up to speed. In the meantime, though, for Josh Robin, again, saw that 179 mile an hour mark on that dashboard there. Let's take a look and see if he can translate that into the lap time that he needs to put himself. Right now, the open driver, Jesse Razimus, is still your top driver here, your pole sitter. So not only the driver to advance through open qualifiers, but right now the driver to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500, but not any longer because Josh Robin just puts in an absolute rocket of a lap, 50.456. We have a new pole sitter here at Daytona, Scott Crump. Now in a Ford, a little bit of a different look here for this number 90 car. From what we've seen last season, Scott Crump going to take to the racetrack and start his flying lap. Trying to see if he can now unseat that 8 car. Into turn number 3 then for Scott Crump. Again, running similar line there to what we saw from David Tooker, trying to just stay as close to that yellow line as possible without touching it. He does a good job, but gets a little bit higher off the corner, off of turn number 4 there. So again, different strategies we're seeing guys taking to finding lap time around here at Daytona. Crump's going to cross the line. We got a quick update from timing and scoring, and it's P5 for Scott Crump, 50.488. Josh Adams then from Ohio going to start his race lap, or his qualifying lap, excuse me. That Yeats Chevy Camaro. Off of turn number 2, keeps it, actually starts going pretty high there. If we take a look there, kind of running that seam on the outside tires, and he's going to come back down into turn number 3. So again, trying to scrub off minimal speed, but of course you're increasing the length of the racetrack that you're running. So it's all kind of playing that game and finding that optimal line. Pretty difficult to do, I think, and we're seeing a lot of different approaches from drivers here. So really interesting in terms of the way these guys are running. But But for Josh Adams, how's that going to look when he crosses the line? Look out for this guy. He's been so fast at Daytona in the past, and it is not going to be enough for Adams. 50.496, just 4 hundredths of a second slower than Josh Robin up on pole. So Adams misses out on a chance to repeat his Daytona 500 pole from a few seasons back. Andrew Rucker, a former winner here of the 500, looking to put his car in the best possible starting spot for the race. If he can grab that front row, that'd be great for him. Otherwise, putting himself in the best possible starting spot for his duel. Off of turn number 2, and once again going up towards that seam. So maybe about half a car length, or half a car width to about a car width wider than some of the other guys that we've seen around this racetrack. That's kind of the difference here, and that could be the difference in terms of overall lap time. But I think we've seen both of these strategies and both of these different racing lines work for drivers. So interesting to see here how this works for Andrew Rucker as he comes across the line here in that 64 Linz Creative machine. We'll get the update in just a second for Andrew Rucker. Don't actually see him. Where is he on timing and scoring? See if we get that updated once again. 50.46 is what we're told he ran. There, no, not seeing it out on the timing and scoring sheet unless I'm missing something here. Gonna wait and see if we can get a report from race control as to why that is. Tom Bourne, meanwhile, out on the racetrack. And let's see, yeah, no update yet on Andrew Rucker's time being added here to timing and scoring. So while we wait for that, we're going to watch the Tom Bourne lap as he completes that there for the number 16 car. As there it is. Finally, it updates Andrew Rucker with the fastest time. That's what we suspected. But there you go. By 1,000th of a second, Andrew Rucker goes to the top. Meanwhile, for Tom Bourne, once again, waiting on just a little bit of a delay in our timing and scoring. As I believe it's Chad Frankenfield out on the racetrack now. Let's take a look here. This is a outlap here for the 15 car of Chad Frankenfield. Tom Bourne, meanwhile, we were watching that outlap. He's completing his flying lap here. That's going to be a 50.48. Another competitive lap there for Bourne. Might just be a second here with, I believe it is Chad Frankenfield, who is updating timing and scoring. We won't see a quick update, though, I believe, actually. There it is, Tom Bourne up to P6. So Chad Frankenfield now, another former winner here of the Daytona 500. Did it 3 seasons ago, I believe. Could have been 4 seasons, actually. Time does fly here in the Cup Series. Former champion of the series as well, Chad Frankenfield, trying to put that Ford Mustang on to the front row for the 500 next week. Through turns 3 and 4 now. Again, keeping that nice and low through the corner and then off the corner. Again, keeps it nice and low off the exit. Let's take a look, though, and see, can he take over that top spot from Andrew Rucker? Chad Frankenfield. Just waiting on that update from timing and scoring here. Have him logged as a 50.53, and it wasn't a great lap time. 50.528. There you see P19 for Chad Frankenfield. So some work for him to do, as currently not seeing any cars out on the racetrack. Going to see if we can figure out why that is. Seems to be a little bit of a lull in the action. Waiting to see if we get any takers on the racetrack, and we do finally there. It's Bronson Stafford, who's waiting at the exit of pit road. Well, we do have a car out on the racetrack, but timing and scoring is failing to show it off to us. Take a look and see who it is. It should be Bronson Stafford. And there he is. He is rolling off of pit road. Getting that outlap in. So he was a little bit behind schedule here. So we're going to end up watching this outlap, and then we're going to get the flying lap as well of Stafford. And across the line now to start that flying lap here. Keeping it nice and low, right up against that yellow line. You can see those left side tires even just touching the yellow line slightly there. Might not be enough to slow him down there. But definitely, I think one of the closest drivers we've seen to that apron all day long. We'll see if that translates to lap time. Here comes Bronson Stafford. Going to cross the line now in that number 61. Take a look. It's going to be a 50.49. 50.484. 7th position there for Bronson Stafford. Meanwhile, Alec Balvans just starts his flying lap. Brody Moore coming up next. Coming through turn number 4 now, Alec Balvans, keeping it nice and low there. A little bit of a touch on the yellow line. But we'll take a look and see how that translates into lap time across the line for the number 5 car. 50.60. It's not going to be enough for him to push forward, but it's going to be 28th position then for Alec Balvans. And I'm happy to say that I am joined in the booth right now by Chris Wright. Chris, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you. How's it going tonight, Rich?
Hey, not too bad, man. Thanks so much for joining us up here. Are you not running the qualifying here?
I am not. I am just the broadcaster this season.
All right, man. Well, that's a shame because we loved watching you up in the booth racing here in the Cup Series last season, but hopefully you're able to give some good insight on what these cars are like here at these super speedways, racing up here at Daytona. Brody Moore running out on the racetrack right now, but what is it like here qualifying for at a track like this where you're flat out all the way around and the times are as close as what we're seeing? Just how difficult is it to pull out a lap time, especially for those open guys who are running earlier in the night?
Yeah, in the old car that we had, it was pretty just, keep the wheels straight. But with this car, you're not maxing out 4th gear. You can still carry 4th gear, so it's about your shift point. At what point down the backstretch you're going to shift. The line is a little bit different. Everything with this car is a little bit different. And I can tell you from some drivers I was talking to while I was watching your broadcast that they were very surprised that Robin got beat. He's been one of the guys that's figured this out and been really fast. They felt like Fodey was the only guy that maybe could touch him.
Well, really interesting there. So that's going to be something to look out for. Andrew Rucker, I think from what I'm seeing, people were a little bit shocked by that lap put in by Andrew Rucker. Just barely beat Josh Robin there. But how about this guy, Johnny Thomas, your defending champion of the Daytona 500, coming back to try and go for 2 in a row here. Can he get some of that pace, get some of that in qualifying here in the duels tonight? Or you've worked with him a little bit before. Is he more of the kind of guy who likes to roll the race and wait around in the back and just kind of preserve that car for the end?
Yeah, it all depends on what happens, right? It all depends on what happens with qualifying, what happens with your positioning, what happens, like last year last year when he won this race, won the Daytona race, it worked out. He had the track position. and a few of us just chose to stay in line. With this car, it seems very important to stay in line. If you're side by side, you stall each other out. Like I've noticed and heard the guys say that 3, 4, 5 cars are faster than a pack of cars as long as they're single file.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you know that there's been the update with the next gen cars, so not sure how that's affected racing here. If, again, you probably a little bit more in the know here. In terms of what's going on and how this handling package is going to be, we'll obviously find out a little bit later tonight. But in terms of driving the car, how different is it with this more updated package to what it's like in real life?
Based on what I've heard from a few different drivers, it seems like you want to be in fourth gear if you're the lead car. If that tells you you've lost a lot of momentum as the lead car. Big runs, the lead cars really get stalled out, and if nobody's on his bumper, I mean, the change in speed from first to the second place car, if there's a gap, is pretty huge. So I think we'll see some big runs tonight, and if you try to block, it's going to be very risky to throw a block if they're coming with that much momentum.
All right, well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Going to ride on board here with Jacob Adams. He had a great season last time around in 2021B, looking to try and break through, grab that first win. He got so close so many times. Was running very fast, obviously with the draft support here during practice earlier on. But we'll see what that single car speed looks like for this 25 car into turn number 3. Didn't look like he had as much speed down the back straightaway, but maybe he's carrying a little bit more through the corners. It is really interesting to see. Guys are running such different lines and yet coming out with such similar lap times. Really is interesting just how Daytona plays out and things like that as he does cross the start-finish line. For Jacob Adams, it's going to be a 50.49, so not going to be enough. See where that puts him. It puts him in 9th, 54.85, as Harrison Talon now is going to be out on the racetrack in that number 23.
Yeah, that's my old teammate there, Jake, and he told me, I was talking to him before I came up here, he said that he didn't have a shot at the pole, so I think he might be pretty happy with the top 10 right now.
Yeah, not too bad there, and we still have quite a few cars here to go tonight. If we take a look and see at the running order, you got 13 cars, I think, still left to run here, including Harrison Talon on screen right now. So getting through the order pretty quickly, which is nice here. But yeah, it's pretty crazy just how many cars have qualified. And of course, for me, the really impressive thing is Jesse Razimus, who is Jesse Razimus, who is an open driver, still running in P3 right now. So of course, advances into the Daytona 500 as an open driver, but to still be there and to have just barely lost out on a front row starting spot is pretty crazy there for an open car. Meanwhile, Harrison Talon goes in P14, 50.502. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Jesse's still going to be pretty happy with that because that should lock him into the race on this time.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So locked into the race on time and now just racing in those duels for the best possible starting position. Vincent Isabella here in this plain white number 12 car. I remember him actually sending a request just asking for a plain white paint scheme for tonight, so not sure if there's more on the horizon here for Vincent Isabella or if this is what he's planning to run here for the 500 as well.
Plain white says to me he's looking for a sponsor. Somebody should come on board. Maybe he can put it on the front row here and get some good show and maybe have a sponsor come on board for the race.
Absolutely. Truck Series champion from 2 seasons ago. Knows how to get the job done, knows how to win races. Vincent Isabella looking to try and put his car on the front row here for the Daytona 500. He'll cross the line. Take a look at the lap time for him. 50.51. It's not going to be for pole position. In fact, where is it going to be on the starting grid?
That looks like maybe 20th.
20th, yep.
That's all right. He's got the duels. Go out there and win in the duels and get yourself some sponsorship.
Absolutely. Next out.
That's what you tell yourself. When you don't qualify well, you're like, oh, the duels. Qualifying don't matter. But if you qualify on the front row, it means everything.
Well, Tate Lytle out on the racetrack now, and that's your defending series champion, excuse me. Tate Lytle, though, hates super speedways, and I don't think they love him back either. So this is always interesting to watch Tate take to the racetrack at a track like Daytona or Talladega. We'll see if he can maybe change his luck, but maybe not expecting a ton from this 56 car, or not expecting a ton from himself out of qualifying or the duels tonight, but mostly just grab points and move on to the next race if he wants to repeat that championship. Tate Lytle then 50.508 should slot him into the P18, 19, or 20 position, actually, because he's the third person to put an identical lap time down.
Yeah, look at that. We got an 07, an 07, 08, 08, 08. Like, real tight right there.
Yeah, ridiculously tight. We got a couple of guys even further up. We got 484, 484, 485. Ridiculously close lap times. Hell, P1 and P2 are separated by 1,000th of a second. 455, 456. So crazy speed right now, and crazy. It's crazy tight between all of these drivers. And we fully expect that here from qualifying. Nick Massey out on the racetrack now. We'll see what he can do. His best lap time, he's only done solo runs, as you can see there. Best lap time, 50.525. Gonna try and see if he can improve on that, because a 5.25 right now puts him down around Chad Frankenfield in 26th. Let's take a look then. Nick Massey, a 50.50. Still not probably what he was looking for. But he goes P14, which I'm sure he'll be fairly okay with right now in the duels. That'll line him up P7 in his duel. Gerald Campbell out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, and I believe he's on a different team this year than he was last year. He was along with Tate and myself in the Final Four last season, and made a team change. Guess maybe he needed that for a shot at the title. He thinks that'll give him over the hump. Absolutely,
yeah. We'll see about that for Nick Massey, and just kind of what those changes mean for him. And again, this is a chance. Daytona is always an interesting place to start the season because there is such an emphasis on teamwork and working together. And so it's a great way for guys who have just moved over to a new team to potentially kind of rush a lot of that and kind of get a lot of work in with their teammates. But a lot of the time, though, maybe you guys aren't all firing on this, on all 8 cylinders. You guys aren't all quite on the same page, and could cause problems between teammates as Gerald Campbell completes his run. P16 for Campbell.
Yeah, now here's the guy that everybody's been telling me is going to be the guy that had a shot at Robin before Rucker went out there and surprised everybody. Is Fodey. Let's see what Fodey can do here.
Let's take a look. Tyler Fodey has shown a ton of pace at Daytona. He's always a contender at this racetrack, but does not have a Daytona 500 to his name quite yet. I say yet because the way he's raced in seasons past makes it seem like it's almost inevitable at this point. But Tyler Fodey wants to get that pole position, wants to be on the front row at the very least. We'll see if he can get that job done, because that makes potentially next Wednesday a little bit easier.
It looked pretty smooth. It didn't look like there was a whole lot of wheel movement there down the back and into 3.
Let's see what this turns into then as he's going to cross the line. Tyler Fodey, it's going to be a 50.48. It's not going to be enough. P6 is the best that he can do. So there you go. For Andrew Rucker, that might just be breathing a sigh of relief. Is there anybody else in the running order who kind of strikes you as somebody to watch out for? You mentioned Tyler Fodey earlier. Right now we've got Cody Harrington on screen. We have Richard Hines, Shane Therian, Jeff Green, R.C. Anderson. Could potentially put something out there. Not sure how he's performing qualifying on ovals in the past. Wyatt Nadel and Joshua Clark, the last cars to go and qualify here.
Well, you mentioned a name there that's new. Like, RC is going to have a shot. Like, a lot of those guys, it's Daytona. You can go out there and hit the lap. But the guy that's going to be running for Rookie of the Year in the Cup Series this year, I believe, Shane Therian, he is a very talented racer. He's going to, I think, surprise a lot of people with how much pace he's going to bring. And I think if I had to pick somebody that was new to be in the Final Four, Shane would be my pick.
Shane, I remember, was in the Final Four of the Truck Series. I don't know if you remember if he ended up actually winning that championship there, as Cody Harrington goes P13.
Yeah, I don't think he won that title. He might have. I don't know though. I knew he was in it, but that's a guy that I've known for a few years on here, and he is very, very fast.
All right.
And he does it on a controller. Like, he doesn't run on a wheel for these super speedways. Like, it's incredible what he's able to do with the controller.
Wow. So there you go. That's really great. I had no idea about that. That's craziness. So, yeah, to be doing that speed on a controller, we'll take a look and see exactly what he can pull off. But right now, Richard Hines out on the racetrack, returning back to action after taking a season off last season, back in a chartered Ford Mustang there. And we'll see a little bit high through turns 3 and 4. Maybe a little bit of a bobble off of turn 4 as well. So cross the start-finish line in that 87. It's going to be a 50.59 is his lap time. That puts him P38 right now. Here you go. This is the guy we were just talking about, Shane Therian, another of those Flat Out Racing Network sponsored cars. And it's number 39, like you said there, controller.
You looking for Chris? Oh, controller?
I was looking for Chris.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It appears that him and Nick have the same paint scheme. Just one's purple, one was a little bit blue. So
yeah, interesting there. So so potentially close work between those guys. I would explain all those similar paint schemes with the Flat Out Racing Network there. So Shane Therian through turns 3 and 4. Smooth run so far. How does it look off of turn number 4? Pretty uneventful, and I think that's what you want around here at Daytona. It's going to come to the tri-oval and the start-finish line. What's that time going to be? 50.49 again. Just not quite. Maybe the track has gone away from some of these drivers, but we've just lost timing and scoring there. Just briefly. Not sure what's happened.
Yeah, that looks like it should put him in about 10th, though. That 10th area right there with Jacob Adams, Bronson Stafford.
Yeah, P11 is what he's officially in. However, our timing and scoring sheet has apparently disappeared from our broadcast here as RC Anderson's going to roll onto the racetrack. Or, excuse me, Jeff Green out on his flying lap right now before RC goes.
Yeah, we know Jeff. He's got good experience at holding a pretty wheel, so I'm sure there will not be a lot of movement in that wheel.
Yeah, Jeff Green there, of course. Busch Series champion back in 2001, was it?
2000, I believe it was.
2000, so there you go. But it's still a man who knows how to get the job done on these types of racetracks here. So Jeff Green going to come to the start-finish line, and he's looked strong here at Daytona in the past. Wow, just blows the other drivers out of the water. Jeff Green, what a lap time.
That's absolutely incredible.
That's not even close to the others. Wow. So Jeff Green there, RC Anderson, another one of our professional drivers who partakes here in the Elite Racing League, driving that Lucas Oil Racing number 50. Can he compete with that from Jeff Green? Where did Jeff Green find that time from? Because that's incredible.
Well, he was a 2000 Busch champion. I guess he showed these boys how it's done and said, come and get it. What a lap. That is incredible.
That was a huge lap there by Jeff Green. Really, really incredible job there. Could be your pole sitter for this Daytona 500. RC Anderson going to see what he can do about it. But Jeff Green, and yeah, looking at some of just the driver comments, it's just wow, Jeff Green. That's all you've got to say there is a 50.48 for RC Anderson. That's going to put him P7 on the timing and scoring there. So who else do we have then? Wyatt Nadel going to start his flying lap in that 84 car. And I think that's just going to leave Josh Clark as the last car to run in open qualifying here. Jeff Green, Andrew Rucker right now, the two men on the front row here. Wyatt Nadel, Josh Clark, both going to see what they can do to try and change that. I think it's going to be hard, though, to replicate Jeff Green's lap time, but could there have been just a little bit of speed in the racetrack when he took that lap and everything just lined up perfectly for Jeff Green? I wonder if any of these other guys can find those similar track conditions, find that similar line, do whatever Jeff did to try and propel themselves up the order. For Wyatt Nadel, That run is over. He crosses the start-finish line. And for that 8 car, 50.45, that's P2. How about that? A huge lap from Wyatt Nadel.
Maybe the last handful of cars here, track's picked up a little bit of pace, but that's incredible. Wow, that's going to lock Jeff Green on the front row. But, man, we got to watch this last car very intently now.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And it's Joshua Clark here heading through turn number 1 and 2, a little bit higher off the bottom of the racetrack there, and maybe even a little bit of a bobble. Not sure if that's handling there or if that's just a little bit of netcode on our part there. He goes now inside wheels on that seam is interesting down this back straightaway. We'll see again, though, what kind of works, but track condition seems to have really picked up here for these final couple of runs with Wyatt Nadel and Jeff Green. See if Josh Clark can replicate those 2 runs that we've just seen.
It looks like there's a lot of wheel movement in Joshua Clark's car right now. Like he's making a lot of movement.
So maybe not the lap time that he'd want to put himself on the front row, but let's see where that 28 car still ends up on timing and scoring. He's going to put in a 50.54. Really not what he was looking for there. Josh Clark, P35. How about that, though? Jeff Green, Wyatt Nadel, front row starters for the Daytona 500 in 1 week's time.
Yeah, that lap by Jeff Green is just absolutely incredible out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's just absolute craziness, and I'd love to see if we can grab Jeff Green at some point and talk to him. We'll see if he hops in here in just a moment. But man, oh man, for both and for Wyatt as well to step into the Cup Series and have that great of a start, that's huge for him. And well, we've got our pole sitter right here. Let's bring him in. And I mean, what an unbelievable lap there. Where did that come from, Jeff Green? That was incredible. Miles ahead of the competition, really.
Well, I practiced hard all day on qualifying, and I was fast as I could run was about a 54. Are y'all listening to me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I'm sorry?
We got you.
Okay. There's other people talking in here, I just text Josh Robin, and he gave me a hint what to do, and it picked up the speed I need to pick up. So pretty cool. I've never been on it's been a long time since I've been pole at Daytona, so it's pretty cool to be able to lock in that position and not have to worry about tonight.
Have you had a chance to look and see who's going to be in your duel yet, and maybe you're going to try to help a teammate start up there with you for next week?
I have not, Chris. It's just so shocking. My teammates, they didn't do what I did, and they're so far back. It's going to be tough for them to get up there. So, but we'll just try to learn, no matter who's in there with us. Try to learn tonight. And the closing rate on these cars it's absolutely nuts. So to be able to block somebody, you're probably going to wreck yourself. So just have to pay attention and try to do the best job we can and try to learn as much as we can tonight.
So will you take more risk now, knowing that you're locked in? It doesn't matter. Like if it's the last lap down the back, you're going to throw that block and say, if I get wrecked, I still start first?
I'm not going to try to. I'm going to try to just do what I normally do and try to keep myself clean. And, if you take a chance, you might knock somebody else out, and I don't want to do that either. So just try to put myself in a position where I'm safe and just try to learn to see how I can pass and when I can pass and when I can't. So just try to learn for next week now. It just takes a lot of load off. I got a great starting spot next week, so I can just learn all night. No matter where I finish, it'll still be starting on the pole next week.
All right, well, congratulations again, Jeff. That was an incredible run there. Pole position for the Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500. We're looking forward to seeing you in the duels and, of course, next Wednesday night leading the field of green.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me. Thanks.
All right, Jeff Green there, pole sitter at Daytona. That's how about that from him? Huge lap. And as drivers get back to practice here, we also shift our focus over to the duels. And the way I believe it's going to be, I know it's going to be a little bit different for the open guys, but for all the charter drivers, at least, it's going to be all the odd numbers in one duel and all the even numbers in the other. Is that right?
Yeah, and one thing I will say on the end of qualifying, the track temp dropped 10 degrees from the start to the end.
Wow. And
apparently right at the end, it dropped 5 degrees from when Rucker made his lap to when we saw those lap times shoot up there at the end.
Yeah, so that could explain it. So for Andrew Rucker, you feel a little bit unfortunate for that one, especially because you don't really control when you run the car. But still, great lap time from him to put that in ahead of Josh Robin, like you mentioned, who I think some people viewed as the favorite there for pole position. But for Jeff Green and Wyatt Nadel, putting in those lap times right at the end when the track was in the perfect conditions for them, that's going to be huge for them. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing them lead their respective fields in the duels later tonight. With that being said, the duels are coming up for you guys in about half an hour's time. They're going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Chris, thank you so much for joining me up here in the booth for qualifying. I believe Alexander Ned should be back with me for our regular scheduled Cup Series programming at 8:30. But Chris, you're always welcome to join as well. We'd love to have more people in the booth for the duels. But with that, we're gonna probably head off here and be back with you guys in about half an hour. So we'll leave you guys with the practice pictures and enjoy that. But from all of us here at the Elite Racing Networks, we'll see you in just a little bit.
Welcome, race fans. It is Wednesday night, the night we've had circled on our calendar for much of the off-season. We are about to be live at Daytona, the World Center of Racing, for the first race of the season here. Duel number 1 about to be underway. This is going to be the starting race to set the grid, the Daytona 500 in 1 week time. So glad you could join us here tonight for the DH Design Duel number 1 about to go live here on YouTube. I'm joined in the booth by my good colleague there, Rashad, and we also have Chris, who will also be calling with us. He is playing as a spotter to Nick Massey. We will be bringing him here shortly. But Rich, tonight is a very big night because not only are we going to decide the running order of the Daytona 500, we decide who gets to run in the Daytona 500. Hectic is the name of the game, and all of that information we of course will be trying to keep you at home up front of it, but the best way to make sure you get in is to perhaps win and race your way in here tonight. Jeff Green on the pole. He's the only car that is going to be safe. He will be starting the Daytona 500 from that spot, but for now we are about to get duel number 1 underway. The green flag is out. Jeff Green pulls him through the tri-oval. We are underway racing at Daytona. Very much so, and that is a significant blink. That's not just 1 or 2 there out of the ordinary there. As we see Jeff Green actually switch lanes, he'll go to the outside and cover that spot. It's Tyler Fodey in that 40 car as well. See that 66 car still blipping. That'll be an issue here if it doesn't resolve itself here momentarily. But at speed through the trial as they come down, it'll be Jeff Green leading lap 1. And look at Tyler Fodey. He's going to go to the outside. Caution on the speedway. And we perhaps have a wreck in the back of the pack already.
I think that started with the blinking 66. I think they reacted to him, and that was big junk there.
Oh, no. So let's see what exactly happened here. We already see this is coming out of turn 4. Oh, the 12 gets hung into the outside wall. Major impact. The 48, the 89. That did not work out at all for these guys. Lap 1, and it's calamity. Yeah, you're right. So that one car, I can't see. Is that the 66, perhaps? No, that is the 48 that suddenly seems out of line. But it really wasn't that necessarily that caused that accident. I mean, it's a bold move below the track, but it's the 12 right there that kind of gets hooked.
Back to the initial contact. I think Nick said that he was just trying to give that 66 extra room, lifted, and got hit. That's why he got out of line off of 4.
So that is a classic case of the accordion effect at speed here, and it ends horribly for a lot of competitors. I don't even know if any of our open cars were involved in that there. That's something we'll have to check on here in a moment, but a lot of cars really heavily damaged here early tonight.
Yeah, a lot of cars damaged early there, and apologies there. I actually had my mic on mute for a lot of that, so my bad, guys. Alex and Chris could hear me as I was talking, but not on stream there. But yeah, no, just absolute craziness. Tough to see exactly. Yeah, like we were talking about there, tough to kind of see where that started. It looked like it was there between Vincent Isabella and Scott Crump in the number 90 car. So Isabella on pit road, Jared Rexing on pit road with damage there, Dallas Myhand, Alexander Gray, who I believe is one of our open drivers as well, Ryan Schuld, another open driver. So a couple of open guys involved in that. That obviously doesn't bode too well for them. Robert Hill made the call to come down pit road here as an open driver, but looks like that car's in fairly good condition. So might just have been going down for strategy, though I don't believe we're going to be able to make it all the way to the end for guys who pitted just on this lap.
I believe the fuel window here is right around the 40 to 40, 5 lap range, so they are still outside of that window. It might be around 40 to 38 to 40 here, so outside of the window for right now. But this takes me back, I think it was about 12 years ago, actually. There was a big wreck in the Daytona 500 that occurred on lap, right there, on lap 1 heading to lap 2 with Jimmy Johnson getting turned and a lot of the field getting wadded up in that one here. I know how disappointing that must be for those guys that started in the back of the pack to not even have a shot or at least have it taken away so early here and have to work dramatically their way up as we get double filed here, but not the start that I believe any of us expected here tonight.
And one little correction, it wasn't Scott Crump that turned to 12, that was Ryan Schuld that got into the right rear of Vincent and turned in.
It was. Okay. So Ryan Schuld, the 06 and the 90 there, yeah, that's probably how I mixed those two up there. So Ryan Schuld in the 06 looks like the 90 from this point of view, at least.
Yes. Yes, I can definitely see. We're still gearing. These are growing paints up in the booth. Everybody has a new paint scheme. Some of the numbers forward, some of them still on the side. We are racing the next gen car. That is obvious here for tonight. But yeah, a lot of new heading into this season here for the Elite Racing League, the JoinAPS.com Cup Series for the Elite Racing Network. One thing that has remained the same, though, at least for the 38 car, is that paint scheme, and he has a great view so far up front. So getting set for the restart here. Going to have a little bit less cars than what we started here. Already working lap number 4. It'll be 5. Again, these guys we expect still have to go down pit road to make a green flag pit stop.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, though, on this restart. I mean, you put Tyler Fodey and Jeff Green together on a super speedway, and that's dangerous for the rest of the field because those guys work together a ton. We all saw that race at Talladega last season, right, where it was Jeff Green, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Tyler Fodey, and those three absolutely dominated that race. So look out for the rest of the field here with these two starting side by side. But right now, they're going to race side by side into turn number 1. Support from Andrew Rucker behind Tyler Fodey. Jesse Razamus behind Jeff Green as they're still side by side through turns 1 and 2. This is kind of the racing that we missed last season, where it was more single file. Maybe not as much on the restarts, but it was definitely single file when the runs got long. We're expecting a lot more two-wide action between these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, and much more action in that outside lane than what we saw all year long last season as the 40 car gets in front of his teammate there, the 38 car, that allows that 64 on the high side a chance to try and take the lead away as they're side by side at a turn number 4. At the stripe, it's going to be the 40 just by a nose there. But now we see the true 90 car, Scott Crump, and my apologies for misdiagnosing him in that crash earlier. He's doing a great job there in that 90 car. That is a guy who we know is always a factor no matter where we go. He and the 45 car hooked up together. Look at the inside, though. That 70 car doing a great job, but that outside line seems to have the push. And now the 64 car, Rucker, getting a big jump, trying to get in front of that 40 car. Oh, they break apart in turn 3.
Yeah, Andrew Rucker probably maybe feel, as he goes high. A little bit of chaos, but they get it all together. No, they don't.
Here goes the 31, I believe.
Gerald Campbell
Single
around.
car spin, and Gerald Campbell with a big save out of turn 4 that all began at the front of the field, and the rest of the field had to react. Second caution flag of the night here. Less than 10 laps in. This begins And Calamity, that's a big bump there. There's going to be some damage there from the 31. Don't know who he got into right there. Perhaps we could slow that down.
I think it's Chad
little
Frankenfield.
In the 15.
Race control calling that one a racing incident.
That's exactly what it looked like, because it did start up front there, Rashad. I believe when the 64 Rucker kind of gets 3 wide, that kind of spooks everybody, behind them. They see that, they react. Some people that are closer to the action up front on the brakes better than the guys that are behind them, and it all jumbles up here. Watch the 64 car get out of shape in turn 4 right there, and then suddenly a whole loss of momentum there in the middle of the pack, and Gerald Campbell just had no chance of saving that. He got run into from behind.
Yeah, it was a 4-wide situation.
That started as netcode with the front row. That's what set all that off, so.
Yeah, already then not a great start there for a lot of these drivers there. 2 caution flags in the first 7 laps of this event. With that being said, though, Gerald Campbell further back in the pack.
He may have gotten away with that.
Yeah, there's definitely damage on that 31 car. I think he's going to want to come down, see what needs to be fixed there. But I think they were pretty lucky not to have more cars involved in that. It was kind of that spin that I think slowed everybody down. And yeah, that spin slowed everybody down, and that brought out the caution flag. But no major incident.
Now, these guys, we still have not seen, at least for the Elite Racing Network, a full big race here on this speedway, especially with this next-gen car and this package, all new here for this season. Is this somewhat of a learning process for these guys running this car here, perhaps knowing that they can be a little bit racier? Is that what's causing these wrecks here?
Yeah, these guys haven't been able to race this hard at these plate tracks in a while. Everybody saw it last season where we had to kind of stay in line, and now they're able to race and make moves, and you kind of got to relearn it all over again. It's been a long time, but one thing to point out here, this is right on the outside edge of the fuel window. A lot of guys chose to pit here and get the fuel, so we'll see if anybody can try to save a couple laps in the pack and make it to the end without stopping again.
Yeah, how about this? Jordan Owens up inside the top 3 there, gaining 10 positions from his starting spot. Driver to look out for. He won his duel last season, actually, I believe. So knows how to get the job done here and is looking good right now. Same thing with Michael Goodman. Right now, a good run. Again, just because of this jumbling of the order and guys having to check up for that, we're seeing a little bit of a different order early on here in this first duel. And this is all important. Remember, the positions that these guys finish in, this is their row, on that inside row starting for the Daytona 500.
There is definitely a reason to race here tonight. That ensures you have a better starting position here for the Daytona 500 that will be broadcast in its entirety next week. Doesn't seem that far away here as we get double wide again.
One thing to point out, everybody 5th on back pitted there just for fuel. So we've only got those front 4. They're hoping that nobody can make it. But I think that somebody, if it runs green from here, somebody that pitted is going to be able to make it to the end.
Well, and let's look at our my patterns and trends. Cue Larry Mack here. So far in this race, though, it does not have a green flag look. So these guys, they might be able to save fuel based on just the fact that we've been running under the yellow flag. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, somewhat of a split strategy early in this one, Chris.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting if it gets calmer here. We've had a couple quick wrecks. That last one, netcode, not so much anybody's doing, just netcode. And I think these guys, knowing that they're going to have to save a little bit of fuel that pitted here, maybe they'll be a little less aggressive, try to get lined up, stay off that throttle pedal a little bit and save a little bit of fuel, and maybe we can make it to the end from here and get real interesting the last 5 or 6 laps.
That'd be pretty crazy, I think, if these guys do make it. But yeah, with caution laps, things like that, it certainly makes it easier to make it all the way towards the end there. So yeah, obviously we're not even a fifth of the way through with this race, so much still to decide here. So much strategy, I think, still to play. That's always an interesting part of the duels is how that strategy plays out. Not sure what tire limitations are or any of those other limitations. Obviously, I don't think you're ever going to really need more than a set of tires for this race. But fuel, of course, is the big question mark. But Tyler Fodey, Jeff Green alongside each other again on this front row as we're going back to green flag racing.
Yeah, pace car ducks for cover there. Perhaps rightfully so, as the teammates are side by side. It looks like the 38 car gonna try and get a jump on the 40. Does he pull back down low? Doesn't get the clearance he needs into turn number 1. The 44 car, Michael Goodman, giving him a good assist entering the corner there. And the 25, they seem to be stacked up very well. Side by side throughout the entire pack as they reach down the back straightaway.
Yeah, you see guys maybe peeking out just a little bit, whether that's to just get some cool air in their radiators or at least get a feel for what their car is like without that support of the draft. But now they come back together, and you see that really kind of compresses almost like a zipper as these guys go through the corners, and that's just getting that side draft, trying to slow down the lane next to you and the car next to you so that they don't get a little bit too much momentum and start pulling away. But here you go, Jeff Green and Tyler Fodey nose to tail along the bottom line there, down through the tri-oval and into turn number 1. And this is, again, what the rest of the field needs to be afraid of, is when these two guys hook up, it becomes very difficult, I think, to overtake them. And so potentially look for that, is when they're side by side, one of them is going to be told maybe, hey, you jump in front of me, and then let's just tandem for the rest of the way through this stint as long as we possibly can.
I'd be a little bit scared on speed, but as far as strategy and fuel, this is actually working against the 38 and the 40 car. As you had mentioned there earlier, Chris, those guys, the front 4, well, at least they were the front 4 once they restarted, as you see that outside line beginning to back up. But the 40 and the 38 have not been down pit road here. If it goes green, that could spell trouble for them later on. Now that outside lane beginning to free fall, very much so, as the 44 Michael Goodman, he was hanging tough in that outside lane all the way up near the lead of the pack. He's fighting hard now to stay inside the top 10 for 8th.
Yeah, outside lane's completely gone. I mean, you're seeing that there. Michael Goodman trying to keep it alive there with the help of Jacob Adams. I think you've got Jesse Rasmus there in there, and I can't quite see, is that Kyle Walgreen just behind them? They're trying to make it work here, but 3 cars, I think, on that top lane, it's just not quite working. You're seeing how quickly they're falling back and how big of a speed differential this is for, this top group. Remember, Goodman was right there running alongside Jeff Green and Tyler Fodey, and over the span of a lap and a half, he's fallen all the way back down to 8th right now and could be outside of the top 10 by the end of this next lap.
One thing I want to point out here is I don't think they're doing this like they had to last year, where you couldn't pull out and make a move. I think a lot of these guys are sitting here talking about and thinking about the fuel, and they're fine with Jeff Green and Fodey sitting out there because they know there's no chance those guys are putting in. So they're just going to get in line, save a little bit of fuel, and say those guys up there, they're going to have to pit.
Wow, they see them snake out there dramatically as they go down the backstretch. But I'm with you there, Chris, if that talk is on the radio, and why not leave the cars up front that can't, win this if it goes green, to try and make sure that you're around for the end. Now, the big thing for the 38 car, he already has the pole. He is insured to start first for the Daytona 500 in 1 week time, so that's not going to really hurt him if he cannot make it to the end. The person that would hurt would be his teammate, the 40 car. The good news for him, he is behind the 38 car, so he can try and save a little bit of fuel that he can. Don't know if it will be necessarily enough, but we'll see if this thing does indeed go green to the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the dangerous thing, I think, for the rest of the pack is when these two are together in the 500. I think in the duels it's one thing. In the 500 it's going to be a whole other thing. So this could very well be an attempt here. Jeff Green carries along Tyler Fodey for as long as possible, and these guys stay together up front, and Tyler Fodey basically has a guy who doesn't care necessarily about the finish of his own race. Sure, there's points on the line. I don't know how much Jeff Green's paying attention to those, those few points that are available for winning his duel. But potentially it's more of a focus on the 500, where obviously there's quite a few more points on the board. There's quite a few, a few other accolades, I think, on the line there for the 500 versus winning a duel. And I think that might be more in Jeff Green's mind is, I think he knows if it's him versus Tyler Fodey at the end, they're going to have a clean race. They're going to race each other fairly and have a good finish there. Maybe he doesn't feel that way about all these other drivers. So, again, just some teammate work right here, right now. Potentially see some swapping here between Jeff Green and Tyler Fodey. Otherwise, it could be Jeff Green guiding Tyler Fodey for as long as he possibly can before that 38 needs to pit.
Working lap 16 of 50 in the books, and you saw a little bit of that outside lane beginning to shape up once again, led by Jacob Adams in that 25 car. running a familiar paint scheme that looks like as they go around the lap car there. The champ's colors to Kyle Larson. These guys bottleneck around another lap car. That was always a source of contention for, well, a lot of the season last season. Always held my breath around a lap car. This time they were able to do so there fairly cleanly. But that did jumble up that inside line briefly, and now that outside line beginning to fight back inside the top 5.
And drivers to look out for right now. We mentioned open drivers. The top 2 open drivers make it in. Those guys, Jordan Owens in 3rd position right now. He's been running great and just hanging on with those 2 leaders. Craig Arvanites then in 6th position in that 43 car. He's had some great success at the Speedway in the past as an open driver here. He typically runs just the Daytona 500 in the Elite Cup Series, but he's run well here. Had great lap time early on in qualifying, but as he was one of the first drivers to run, we kind of saw conditions move away from, I think, the conditions that he ran in, and he dropped some positions. But right now, he's in position to advance into the 500. Again, a lot can change between now and lap 50.
I saw the 25 car. It looked like he was going to duck in and leave that lead pack. I think he was just trying to sniff a little bit of draft behind that 43 car there, try to get all he can to muscle his way around him. It's actually worked out a little bit. He's side by side with that 43 car, and that 70 has been on his back bumper since basically we went back to green as they come across more lap traffic there in that high lane.
Hey, I'll tell you this, Jacob Adams has got his teammate and brother in here, Josh Adams, spotting for him, and I'm sure he's well aware that the front 3 cannot make it if it runs green. That I think he's racing Scott Crump. They're trying to race to be the first guy behind that group when they pit.
Yeah, and this top lane is starting to come alive a little bit again. Jacob Adams starting to, they're trying to organize. You can see we've got about 5 cars up top, but as he slots back down to the bottom ahead of the 14, then he slots back up in front of Jesse Rasmus. He's trying to figure out, he's got an option right now to go to the bottom, but no, he sticks with it. I think if these guys can just get a couple more cars, get a little bit more organized, they can start moving forward and challenging this bottom lane here. We're seeing a little bit of a different situation here where it was tough to convince someone else to join you up top in that second lane on the racetrack. But right now, I think we're seeing more and more guys move up there. As there goes Alec Balvans. He transfers up there as well to join that party. And you can see the big speed they're carrying down the straightaway. And he's already into 3rd position.
Yes, he carried a momentum entering that corner there, and he's all the way up to 3rd. Help from that 70 car. This is the best we have seen that outside lane since the drop of the green flag, or for that restart, excuse me. And that 25 car doing all he can. He kind of went high right there. That's going to stall out just a little bit of the speed in that outside lane. But that outside versus that inside, look at the gaps in between the cars on that inside line versus the nose-to-tail drafting we're seeing in that outside line. They're much more tucked up against one another. An excellent camera shot here we're getting from the side of the 25 car. Does that not put you in the action here, especially when they're side drafting like that? And now look for this. This is up for 3rd, entering turn 3.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get probably a little bit crazy here, is just how tight they get. And you can see there with the 45 and maybe a little bit of the lack of realism in iRacing with how close these guys get. You get inside the 45 car, but still incredible there on board with Jacob Adams there. Again, just how close these guys are getting out on the racetrack. But then on the straightaways, you want to get as far away from them as possible. So it's a really interesting strategy as caution flag waves.
That was a pretty big wreck.
Darn, we've been on board when action has happened here. Oh, it's going to be Gerald Campbell turned around, collecting Michael Goodman and others. The 14 is in it. The 24 and the 05 become victims to that after they left the tri-oval, and 4 cars are wrecked.
Man, let's take a look and see what on earth happened there. Oh, was it the 44
Rucker,
car?
excuse me. Not
And they call
Gerald
already
Campbell.
for it to be a racing incident there from race control. Trying to see, it's hard to get a good angle on this. This is maybe a little bit behind it.
It's just a stack up on the high line, running the high line through the tri-oval. And the reason they do that, I was going to bring that up when you talked about how they run really high right there, is the side draft is so powerful in these cars that when you're on that outside line, you want to get really close to them when it benefits you and get really far away from them when it doesn't. And so running through that tri-oval, they were getting a good run at the wall, and it just accordioned up in that outside lane, and guys ran into each other.
Well, and let's see, because it could have been a moment where the 64 car, how high he was entering the tri-oval, it put that 44 car behind him on that left rear quarter panel. Take a look at that. Just right there. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And that is the most vulnerable spot on the race car. I have heard drivers in real life say if you could go out and touch one of these cars through that tri-oval, you could spin them out.
Yeah, car is definitely
exactly
unsettled through there. Yeah, and that checkup just doesn't make things easier. So, rest of those guys making it through, but Andrew Rucker, that's unfortunate. A good night that turned a little bit sour has just gotten really bad there for that 64 car. Unfortunately, he was in contention late to run away with the Daytona 500 pole before Jeff Green and Wyatt Nadel took that front row away from him, and now that's going to hurt his starting position massively for the 500 next week.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not your night, and unfortunately, it looks like the 64 car might be owed one here from Daytona. Pit road is going to be open. It looks like it's going to be a busy place for both the 38 and the 40 car. 5 car stays out. Let's see what the others decide to take here.
Pretty much everybody goes in except for the 5 car of Alec Balvans. Interesting to see Jacob Adams making that call to come down. Was he not that close? Or was he that close on fuel that it made sense to come down for this extra stop here? Or do tires really make that much of a difference?
I think they all had to save about a lap or two, and so what they've decided to do is just to pit, get fuel, make sure it's good to go. And Jeff Green overshot his pit box and had to back up, and Jacob Adams is going to win the race off pit road.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was...
I was going to say he may have just taken a slighter or less fuel than the 38 car. It didn't help that the 38 car overshot his pit, but he didn't really lose a lot of positions except for that 5 car, or excuse me, that 25, who I believe was going to take a shorter stop anyway based on already receiving service before the 38 and the 40.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Alex. It was 5.8 seconds stationary for Jacob Adams, while it was 7.67 seconds stationary for Jeff Green. Just more fuel to go on board that 38 car than the 25. Tyler Fodey as well lost quite a bit of time there. I think, Chris, you mentioned Scott Crump had pitted earlier. This is his second stop, so he gained some position there as well on Tyler Fodey. Fodey with the longest stop inside that top 6 or 7 cars, with 8.43 seconds. So Fodey loses some positions there down into P5 right now. Alec Balvans, though, staying out. Let's see what this call is. Was he maybe one of those guys who he did come down pit road? He pitted last on lap 8 of the race. In theory, with cautions, he should be able to make it to the end. So could this be a bid for track position?
That's definitely what it is. He's going to try to stay out front, but I'm not sure if it's going to be able to work out. I don't know. We'll see. He's the only guy that did it, and that, when you're the only guy that does something, when everybody does something and you're the only guy that goes opposite, it's kind of a lonely feeling. Yep,
but sometimes that is the position you need to put yourself in, because there can only be one person to win, and the other guys can't.
Exactly. So we only running out of cars out here tonight. Like, we started with, almost 30, and there's, 12, 14 that are still out here. And half of that's probably not clean.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got 21 cars out on the lead lap here. But yeah, no, it's quite a few of those cars have been involved in some pretty heavy wrecks. I'd say, yeah, you're about on the money there, Chris. 15 cars maybe left who haven't seen contact yet. So it's it winds down pretty quickly in these duels, and guys are going for it. There's not a ton on the line in terms of. I think many people will agree that the starting position for the Daytona 500 doesn't necessarily matter, but yeah, it
does. If we see action like this picked up on the first lap, you don't want to be in the back of the pack. I tell you that.
Yeah, if I'm in the second duel and I'm seeing this, I'm like, guys, let's not go out and do this. And then thinking about the Daytona 500, I might start from the pits and say, you know what? I've seen enough this week to know, probably just wanting to keep my car clean for the first 450 miles.
Yeah. There's only one guy that's comfortable out here tonight, and that is Jeff Green, who's done this before in real life. 2000 Series champion there. Has had some good days at Daytona. Has also had some bad days. I remember one year he went flipping across right through the short shoot between the tri-oval and turn 1. Not a good day for him that day. We'll see who will have a good night, though, as the green flag is back out. We are just shy one lap of halfway. We'll see what happens here as the 5 had control of that restart. Looks like the 25, though, is going to beat him And that inside line really actually stacking up. I don't know if the 5 Alec Balvans perhaps just missed a gear right there, but that outside line is actually going to take off for the first time tonight. And the 25 of Jacob Adams drops down low to cover the spot.
Yeah, so already Alec Balvans loses that top spot to Jacob Adams. The question is now, what does the rest of that advantage look like for the top lane? Scott Crump leads the way on the top with the help of Craig Arvanites in that 43 car, who is now, I believe, our top open driver. I'm not sure actually if Alec Balvans is open or chartered. I'll do a quick check on that. And Balvans is, in fact, chartered. Yep, he is.
He's been passed by the 43 car. It's Scott Crump in that outside lane.
Yeah, so Scott Crump then up in front. You see Jesse Razimus then now leading that outside lane. It's Craig Arvanites and Jordan Owens. Those two are your open drivers running side by side. The top 2 open drivers then who are not one.
And how about that 70 car there, who's now being shown as our leader in that Toyota Camry, doing a great job. Wow, but look at Jesse Owens in that 45. He swooped to the outside, or excuse me, to the inside there to take that spot away, and he has Scott Crump right behind him. That was a great move made by the 45 car to try and take the spot. However, it didn't last long. Here comes the 70 car with Gerald Campbell right behind him. Weren't we just talking about Gerald Campbell, one of those cars who has had an issue here tonight and damage on that car? He's all the way up to second.
Well, you can see the damage on that car, and I mean, that left side of that 31, you can barely even read 31 on it. And Gerald Campbell, though, still showing that there's pace in these cars despite the damage on them. And he's actually going to try and lead, a field on the outside there. A lot of guys actually going with Campbell. They trust in that 31 car, and look at that. That's leaving the 70 and the 45 there for Dust. Jeff Green, Gerald Campbell both clear them and down back onto the bottom.
Yeah, I've gotten to know Gerald pretty well. If that thing will still roll, he's going to go out there and he's going to drive the hell out of it.
Absolutely, but look at that.
Job so far. Bold move, though, to the outside lane.
Yeah,
goes the 90 of Scott Crump and the 38 of Jeff Green.
Is this not completely reversed of what we've seen the first half of this race? Everybody on the bottom. Now it looks like the top's almost running better than the bottom when it's side by side.
I was just going to say that. The top side seems to just have so much more pace. Guys are rolling the top, and then they'll come back down to the bottom and if they feel like it. But through the corners, it seems like they almost prefer running that higher lane. We'll see again what they do here as you see those leaders kind of navigate themselves back to the bottom. Maybe starting to see them go back to the bottom, but maybe just some slower guys on the bottom lane that caused them to check up. But what we're seeing here is movement, at least throughout the field, and that's certainly an improvement, I think, from years past with former packages where you can make these big runs, as we're seeing right now, even with 3 cars on that outside line. Jacob Adams still able to stay side by side with Jeff Green. In fact, Adams and Fodey might clear this 38 car here through turns 1 and 2. They're ready to come down. They do. Can Nick Massey get there too? He can't.
Yeah, Nick Massey, who Chris is actually responding for there. Massey also involved in an earlier issue. There's Jeff Green to poke back out of line. Help from Scott Crump. Jacob Adams goes to cover the spot. That leaves the bottom open for the 40 car. Tyler Fodey, look at that 43 car with a massive run to the outside lane. He is our top open car. He pushes the 90 Scott Crump, who once again returns the favor, pushing the 38 of Jeff Green back to the lead. He had like 5 different lead changes. They only officially count at the start-finish line. Jeff Green's going to lead that lap, but he did not lead the entire lap. That was crazy.
If I'm out here in this race, I gotta forget and throw everything I know out. If I get to the lead, I'm staying on the top. Every time somebody pulls down, they end up dropping back to 4th, 5th, 6th. Like, once you get there, you stick with what got you there.
Yeah, the one car that I think that has had the exceptional pace all night long, been able to pull out at will and have people go with him, has been our leader currently, Jeff Green. I mean, you had mentioned he had overshot his pit box. He started about 5th or 6th, I believe, and it took him no time to get up to the point, and he's been able to get there twice since then.
Yeah, and you can see Tyler Fodey aggressively trying to go up to the top and make moves to get past Scott Crump. He wants to be back there with his teammate, and Jeff Green wants him there too as Green comes up in front of the 40 car. They're both ready to come down on the 90. Fodey goes down, but Jeff Green stays on that top lane, and now Tyler Fodey's going to slot in and just be a nose ahead of Jeff Green. Side by side here for the lead. Both the top and bottom lane here looking strong.
man, this is the part where we begin to hold our breath here. Teammates up front, the 38 and the 40. That has often spelled trouble for the rest of the field. They've not been able to get by, and rightfully so, as the 38 car switches lanes. Just enough to get in front of his teammate. That is some trust going on in that bottom lane between those guys. We see a little bit of a blip from the 15 of Chad Frankenfield.
Yeah, did you see how slow Jeff Green moved down? Like he was waiting to see if he was going to be able to get down.
Yeah, that's interesting that it didn't really, bottle up that bottom lane either. They ran really well through the corner still. So a lot of trust there between Jeff Green and Tyler Fodey, because I think a lot of the time a driver makes that tight of a block down into, not a block necessarily, but it comes down that tightly, onto the bottom lane, heading into a corner. You see quite a bit of a checkup there, but not really much of a slowdown there on that bottom lane. In fact, they've started to extend their lead over that top side as well. A little bit of a bobble in turns 1 and 2, but they've been doing all right now. Heavy and aggressive pushing right now from Tyler Fodey.
Yeah, he is trying to make sure he keeps that 38 and himself having the top spot here for the Daytona 500. If they were to finish that way, that's exactly how they would start on that inside lane, and that could very well spell trouble for the rest of the field come race day. Look at the 90 of Scott Crump. He decided to switch lanes. He wanted to try and fare better on the outside lane, which if I see two cars like that hooked up on the bottom of the racetrack, my original thought is always to be like, okay, if we can't beat them, let's go around them, Two cars like what we're seeing out of the 38 and the 40, they can control this race, but there's no reason why you need to be behind him. Let's see what we can do around him. So, with that 43 car, he is our highest open running car. I think he's very much content to be where he is.
Be the case right now, as we kind of seeing them single file up towards the top of the pack, trying to see where our first double file really is, and it's a long way back there. I think that's it is Gerald Campbell there, who was looking to the top. Now Chad Frankenfield up top, but yeah, more or less single filed all throughout the top of the field here now, as they've started to, I think, separate just in general. This pack looking pretty sparse in terms of drivers involved in the battle. But Scott Crump still trying to make that top lane work. Not sure if they're quite put together right now, as there's just two cars up there. I think Scott Crump and Chad Frankenfield.
One thing that's interesting, they're catching a group of lappers. I'm not sure the pace they're running, but that group of lappers is going to be very interesting to see if that shuffles this little pack up.
Yeah, as they reach where they are going to be, think they'll be able to pass them there. They seem to be sticking to the high lane, so they'll be out of harm's way. But this lead pack is about 15 cars. As you see, yes, the 24 and the 14 and the 3 all heavily wounded here.
Could give a chance to those guys on the top lane, potentially a little bit of draft support. We'll see what happens here as you see Jacob Adams back leading that top lane. He's done a good job leading that top lane. I think whenever he gets in front there, he's been a good gauge as to whether or not there's momentum behind that group. And when you see that 25 car, I think, leading that top lane, expect them to start moving forward within a few laps' time. But right now, they're not quite organized just yet. Maybe he moved too early this once here, but we'll see.
And look at that 16, Tom Bourne. We haven't talked about him at all, haven't said his name at all. Look how clean that car is. He's just hung out, rode around, Mr. X, and now here he is with possibly the cleanest car in the lobby, going to have a shot to win this with 15 to go.
Definitely will.
15 cars are in this lead pack here as we get to the 15 to go. There's signal, but Jeff Green still in control of this race, and I believe the guys that are behind him are very well content, perhaps until that white flag waves. I don't know. We have seen those guys get racy. It's what caused Dale Jr. to lose that race, the last super speedway event that we ran. And Tyler Fodey able to get in the last lap pass. Does he do the same on his teammate here?
Yeah, TBD on that one there. Both these guys good on fuel and happy to race it out. I think we could see a similar situation. I've referred to it a few times, but Talladega last season, where it's you work as a teammate all the way up until off of turn 4 on the final lap of the race, and then it's a free-for-all. You do whatever you need to do to win that race. Could see a similar situation here, but of course, duels, you're not racing for as many points. Back in Talladega, they were racing for a chance to advance in the championship. Actually, none of them were. But still, in crunch time there in that kind of race, that's kind of what you're looking at. But yeah, we'll see how they approach this, maybe differently or exactly the same as what they did at Dega. And for Craig Arvanites, yeah, you mentioned it, just hanging out right now, doing everything he needs to do to advance into the 500. Just stay with these guys. I think if you follow that 38 and 40 just about everywhere they go, unless those two are wrecking each other out, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and one thing, you'll take a chance in this race. If you're locked in, like we've seen Jacob Adams on the top more often than not, you're going to pull out and you're going to say, let's see what works. Like I want to win the duel, but if I want to try something here and see how it's going to work, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the run. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. That way, going into the 500, okay, this will work. And when I tried this, it jacked it up. It didn't work at all. So that way you have a good idea of what you're going to have next week. And that's the only thing I would say about Jeff Green and Tyler Fodey. Yeah, it's great to lead all these laps, but they are not really learning a lot about how the cars are going to handle back in a pack and what they're going to have when they don't have track position and what will work and what won't.
Key to success here at Daytona, always learning. I heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. say he was always learning about the draft, learning about how cars work with one another here. It's important, not just flat around this 2.5 mile speedway here. There is a lot to be learned behind the steering wheel. So far, as laps are winding down here, PH Design's duel number 1, Jeff Green has led a lot of them. The 43 car is our highest open car that could transfer into the Daytona 500 based on his finishing position. Right now, if the race were to end that way, the highest other competitor, I believe, was the 5, Alec Balvans. I'm looking at the running order. He has actually lost the draft quite severely. He's not inside this lead pack. He's running in the 16th position, but not anywhere near anybody, and so he's going to need some help. He'll need at least another yellow flag or something dramatically to happen in order to make sure his bid in the Daytona 500 is solid.
Yeah, for sure. Again, if you're a charter driver, you're not as bothered about a bad result here, I think, tonight in your duel. Of course, it's nice to start well at the Daytona 500, as these guys obviously all put in that effort in qualifying to do just that, but it's not going to end your race and end your hopes. It is such a long race and such an unpredictable race. Certainly the week isn't over and it isn't dead there. For drivers who are finishing further back, it's the biggest thing right here is this is a race mostly for pride, a couple of points on the line, and then for those open guys, this is a chance to really prove yourself, to show that you can make the 500 and do it on merit. You're not a chartered guy. You're not guaranteed entry. You are genuinely racing your way into the biggest race that we have here in the Elite Racing Leagues.
The 43 car there, taking that to heart, doing an excellent job. In fact, the last time the 43 car went to victory lane in the Cup Series, it was right at this spot back in 2014 with Eric Almirola's rain-shortened event. But nonetheless, the last win for that prize number 43 car, the most iconic number ever in the Cup Series, running third so far. 9 laps to go. We are under 10 to go here at Daytona. Who do you guys like? Who do you think is going to win this one?
You know what? I'm going to say Craig Arvanites. As much as I trust in the Tyler Fodey, Jeff Green combination, I'm going to say they might have some fireworks, and Craig Arvanites could find his way to winning this duel as well as locking himself into the Daytona 500. I love that 43 car. I think he's looked good in seasons past. He comes back to race here at Daytona. He shows that pace again in qualifying, showing that great racecraft again in the duels here. I love that 43 car. I think he's got something here.
I think if I'm Tom Bourne, I like where he's at with the clean car. He's going to have to be willing to get up off the bottom. But a guy that I've seen is Scott Crump and Jacob Adams. I think if I had to pick a winner, it's probably going to be Jacob Adams. He's the only car that's been able to lead that top lane back to the front time and time again. He runs way higher than anybody else, and he's been willing to make moves. A lot of these guys are not willing to move. Some of them are open cars trying to get in, so they're just going to sit there. So I think you want a guy that's not going to be afraid to get up to the top. And Tom Bourne right now, I think if I was Tom Bourne, I would maybe pull up in front of Jacob Adams, but I'm not sure if he'll leave that bottom.
I think the guy that we might be sleeping on just a little bit might be that 48 car. Nick Massey there. It's in the position. I don't know so much of Craig Arvanites if he's going to decide to make that move there, as you mentioned there, Rashad. Maybe he just wants to get that thing home in one piece, make sure he is running next week. That is the end prize and goal. But that 48 car we know will be in the show there next week, so why not try and make a show out of it? And that 48 car, he was so close to winning the championship here last season. I think he starts the duel off with a win here. Look for that 48 car in the closing laps.
All right.
We'll see. That car's got a lot of damage. I don't know if Nick would have the faith to pull out and thinks that he could clean a line. I think he's very happy to sit fourth right now and stay on the bottom and maybe wait and see if something will fall in his lap.
Yeah, we'll have to see as it plays out. We're just finishing up this lap here. We're going to come to 6 laps to go. And I expect things to just start getting maybe a little bit more crazy. Guys starting to make a few more moves here. Again, Tyler Fodey, Jeff Green, such a stout package there, those guys together. But Craig Arvanites even peeks his nose out just a little bit there, maybe taking a look at what he can accomplish, but needs to also be aware. He is obviously an open driver, needs to just finish this race, and he's got Jordan Owens behind him. The next open driver who isn't in, is that Tom Bourne, or is Tom Bourne? No, Tom Bourne is chartered. Trying to see. It's actually a long way back. I believe Dylan Jones after that. So there is something to be said about going for it here for Craig Arvanites, because inside this top group of cars, there's only 3 open drivers, and one of them's already locked in. The other 2 are advancing.
And the 70 car's done a great job tonight. He's new. He's coming into this league new, not knowing a lot of people. He has ran at the front and worked with a lot of guys. I think he's going to find out he has a lot of friends come Daytona 500 time.
I like that paint scheme on that as we get the 5 to go signal there. It's definitely unique, and you're absolutely right there, Chris. I've seen him make some bold moves, and he has worked hard with anybody in that side line. Look at that run by the 16 car, though. We just talked about Mr. Bourne himself. Now he's been able to push to that outside lane in front of the 25 car. Will we see that
like
outside line begin to work?
I was going to say, it sounds like he was listening to you there, Chris.
Oh, we don't know how your booth is like there, but the drivers never listen to us. They seem to crash when we talk about them. So hopefully you don't get that commentator curse as they navigate some lap and blinking traffic. Oh, let's just add that into the mix here. And 4 to go at the line.
What a push, though, right here. Here he comes. The cleanest car. He's going to be a good car to push, good lead car. And he's going to get all the way here.
Yeah, huge run by this outside lane in the final couple of laps here. They've really come together. I think that Tom Bourne, that 16 car, I don't know if there was something wrong with the 25 of Jacob Adams, but they weren't really moving forward with Jacob Adams, or they were just holding back in general with that 25. But now Tom Bourne coming back in front of this pack, and if he wants to push all the way, he can, because he's just taking the lead of this duel here. And
What's
Tom
he
Bourne,
doing? Why are you going to the bottom? The top's where you want to be when it's been hard pushing, and he just dropped right down to the bottom.
In front of Jeff Green, who's been the fastest Chevrolet all night long, but now Jacob Adams leads that charge out of turn 4 with Scott Crump right behind him. Does the 25 stick to the outside lane? That's where the speed has been. Does he drop down low? Whoa, the 16 car bumped out of shape. They're 3 wide entering turn 1.
Yeah, Bourne, I think, just got maybe a little bit of a rough bump there from Jeff Green, and he's going to lose that spot, lose some momentum. Green now has to slot in behind the 25 car. I think we might see something happening here. Here we go. Scott Crump now going down. He tries to go in front of the 25, but there's no room there. And Jeff Green, he's in the pocket there, and that's not the place you want to be. He does find a spot, though, on the outside lane.
Chad Frankenfield looking to take the lead. There they go. Jacob Adams goes around. Nick Massey gets collected. Scott Crump is involved.
Arvanites around. Oh.
It looks like no harm, no foul for a lot of these guys. A lot of spins. Don't know if I necessarily saw a lot of initial contact. But we're going to end this one in overtime here. Things got too close in turn 3.
Somehow, in all of that, Gerald Campbell, Chad Frankenfield are leading. Dylan Jones, who was down, I think, in 17th position, is now the lead open driver. Jeff Green in 4th. Let's go back to the replay there. And it all started there, I think, we just caught it there at the end there. So let's see if we can find the replay.
I think it was netcode again between the 90 and the 25. Still with netcode.
Let's take a look at the 90 and the 25 cars, see if we can spot anything there. That's so unfortunate. They were having such a great race up until that point. And let's take a look.
I was just going to mention how the 15 had gotten a good push. They're suddenly 3 wide. Oh, 90 Crump. He comes off the bottom a little bit.
Yeah.
He came up into the 25, and that's kind of what set that off. He didn't hold the line there. There are a lot of cars that actually they could have had a lot more damage than what I saw from that, but the 43 definitely a victim, and hopefully not going home because of that.
Well, we'll see, because right now he's in position to be going home. P14 right now in that 43 car, but as some others come in to pit road, he's going to be elevated to P11. And so the way it stands right now is Dylan Jones is the first of your open drivers to advance. Then it's going to be Jordan Owens in 10th, and 11th is Craig Arvanite. So right now, Dylan Jones all of a sudden is in the safest position in 3rd, while it looks like it's going to be a battle between Owens and Arvanite in overtime to decide who's going to be the second driver to make it in this duel.
Man, I almost looked like a genius for a minute.
Yep, well, we told you in this booth that doesn't fly, man. we don't talk about the drivers. We talk about their driving. Oh man. How about the stars of the second caution of the night, the 31 and the 15? Wasn't so long ago that both of those guys were sitting in turn 4, wrecked. They're about to start here with a chance to win duel number 1.
What do you guys think Jeff Green and Fodey are thinking? They thought it was a Sunday drive. They were just out there. Nobody could pass them. And then all of a sudden, everybody was like, oh, we got you.
Yeah, Tyler Fodey got really messed up in that one. We saw Jeff Green. He's all right in P4 right now. But Tyler Fodey all the way down in P13. Went down pit road here on this last lap. So it must have been some damage to that 40 car. Nothing too severe visually. So interesting call there. But, yeah, Tyler Fodey, a lot of track position lost. Obviously going from, running up front, it's just craziness, and that's the way these races play out. I mean, those two were pretty much perfection from lap 1 to lap 48 up until that caution flag came out.
And that's how the way it goes here. So we're going to see the 31 take the high side here. 5 miles to decide who is going to be in the Daytona 500. That's just 5 miles left in your bid to make the Great American Race. So far, we think Dylan Jones might be safe, but are you ever safe?
And if you're tuning in, don't leave when it's over. We got a whole nother duel to run.
Absolutely,
yeah. I'd like to know what the guys in that second duel are thinking if they're sitting here watching right now.
Yeah,
is their pack going to be anything like this?
We've seen it time and time again. It's been interesting where if one duel is pretty chaotic, the other one tends to be a lot more tame, because I think the drivers watch the first duel and kind of learn from it and understand what to do and what not to do. This one's been fairly chaotic. I wouldn't say this has been a totally chaotic duel, though. I mean, we had that long green flag run just there. We've had a couple of wrecks, but they've been fairly standard Daytona-style incidents, and they've all been racing deals. I'm curious, was this the crazy duel? Are we about to get the crazy duel? Or do we just have two maybe just pretty normal-ish duels? So this could be interesting. I don't know actually what to expect for this next one.
I think if you're in the next one, you're saying, oh, this is the crazy one. We are not going to go out here and do what these guys did.
Taking a pen and writing down all of what not to do here in duel number 2.
And maybe they'll write down, hey, somebody tune in and listen to what Chris is saying, because he seems, he almost got that one. They just wrecked. That's all. They just wrecked when they got there.
All right, well, before we can decide about duel number 2, we got to finish off duel number 1. The pace car about to duck onto pit road. We are in overtime here. The Daytona 500 is about to be decided. Who is in, and more importantly, who's out. Green flag. Here comes Gerald Campbell and Chad Frankenfield to lead them down to turn number 1.
Here they come. Gerald Campbell, good start on the outside lane with the support of Jeff Green. Is Green going to stay with Campbell? No, he's not. He's diving down to the bottom. Jeff Green wants to win this race. He's had enough of the chaos that's been going on behind him. He doesn't have his buddy Tyler Fodey with him. He's just going to go straight out and try to win this here. But he's got to defend now from Chad Frankenfield, who's looking to the inside there. Jeff Green protects. It's chaos right now through this field. We got them 3 wide, and they're wrecking.
There they go. That's going to bring out another yellow flag there at the
Fodey.
70. He had been clean all day long. He takes out the 40 of Tyler Fodey, and the yellow flag is out once again.
Oh, man. All right. Green
was the
white
leader?
checker number 2.
I believe Gerald Campbell was the leader when that came out. Tim Bourne is going to restart there in second, but let's take a look to see what brought out our 6th caution flag of the night.
It's going to be hard to see here. If we can spot anything.
Three
This was
wide.
the angle we kind of had there. And we saw it was the 66 and the 70. Just the 66, I think, just maybe went up into the 70, or the 70 hooked the 66. Tyler Fodey got caught up in that. Just a little bit of chaos that was going on there in the middle of the pack, and hard to avoid there. We'll see what the call is from race control. But for Rasmus, yeah, that's
very
That's
much heavily
unfortunate.
damaged, that Toyota Camry there. Not looking so good as it was there just a couple moments ago. Let's take a look and update you on our open drivers. So far, Dylan Jones has been passed by Jordan Owens.
Yep.
The 45 car is now in control of that race. Craig Arvanites, he is still in the 11th position. Didn't gain any or lose any spots, but time is running out for that 43 car.
Yeah, so it's Arvanites versus Jones now, and it's 66 car was put at fault there. So like we said, it looked like the 66 just went up. That was Cody Harrington, went up into the and went up into the 70 car, caused that wreck there. Race control feels they've been fairly lenient, but I think they saw that one pretty clearly as the 66, and I tend to agree.
I know this guy's 2 laps down. I want to give a shout out to Alex Gray driving the Bengals machine, winning the AFC championship, going to go to the Super Bowl. Great looking car. Doesn't look so hot tonight.
I was going to say, yeah.
He's ran into a few things tonight, but car still looks great.
For the rest of us in the AFC who aren't going to the Super Bowl, he's still the winner. Whatever happens tonight here on iRacing, he's still the winner as a Bengals fan.
Yeah, it looks great. Other than it's a Ford. Could be a Chevy. Something to make it better.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that Super Bowl there. I'm just gonna admit something on air, but I don't watch very much football, and so when I heard about this team, I was like, who are they? And I think that is actually their what do you call it on social media.
I was gonna say, I think you mean who day.
Yeah. Who day, and I'm like, that is 110% correct, because I'm like, no, that can't be right.
I think the rest of the
Looking
league
big,
found out who they were and who they are going to be, I think, for a long time.
I was going to say, I think I saw the greatest graphic ever, which was comparing the Rams and the Bengals, and it's the Rams had a check mark next to every single position, but the Bengals just had a picture of Joe Burrow, and I think that's all you need to describe them. That is one heck of a quarterback.
Yeah, so much so I've never heard of his name until 2 weeks ago.
But to bring things full circle, my 2 guys that I've been talking about here are going to restart 2nd and 3rd. So even with that wreck, a little bit of damage, look, the cars are fine. Everybody's got damage, so just match up with everybody else now.
Absolutely.
See what they can do. And Gerald Campbell, we talked about him. You know, as long as it rolls, he's going to drive the hell out of it, and here he is sitting in the lead.
I mean, Jeff Green, that 38 car is looking pretty clean as far as I can tell.
He is. The problem with having a good car, car as fast as he has, is the fact that everybody else knows he's fast, and not a lot of people are going to help you. If he makes a move there toward the end of this one, I think a lot of people will do what they can to shift him out. He's been able to control his own destiny and put that car where he wants it to be in order to force people to help him. But I think we're getting deep in this thing where I don't believe that 15 car, I think had that caution not come out, don't think 15 was going to try and push that 38.
And one thing, too, about Jeff Green, you know, his help all night has been Tyler Fodey. He does not have Tyler Fodey. Somebody else who he hasn't worked with all night is going to have to choose to run with him or go with him and find some help. If not, you know, these other guys might see, hey, he's already on the pool. We don't need him up here to win it, too. You know, let somebody else win it. You've had your win today.
Well, we're about to find out here. Green-white checker attempt number 2. Gerald Campbell will lead this attempt as well, but Tom Bourne alongside him on the inside this time. Gerald Campbell deciding to go and be pushed by Jeff Green. Honestly, I think you couldn't go wrong with either of those choices, Jeff Green or Jacob Adams, but I think that 38 car looks just a little prettier, and it might be just that little bit better pusher there So yeah, Gerald Campbell, Jeff Green, Chad Frankenfield, that's a row to look out for. Tom
And it
Bourne,
might not even
Jacob
be one of
Adams.
We got Goodman and Jordan Owens. They're sitting right there. It could be anybody. Anybody that's going to restart here in this pack has a shot.
Oh, yeah. Owens, a former winner. Again, like I mentioned at the start of this, he won his duel last season as well. So Jordan Owens knows how to get the job done. And he's right there doing that same thing again.
Gerald Campbell has control of this restart there. He fires off in the restart zone. Tim Bourne on the bottom with help from Jacob Adams, but Jeff Green doing all he can to push one of our reigning champs here, that 31 car, to the lead. He'll do so. Move Green up to second as they continue to fight hard in that outside lane. What does the 38 car do? Does he drop down low? He did so last time. Has the clearance, but the 16 gets into the side of the 38 who hangs on.
Wow, that was a late call there from Jeff Green. That was interesting. He was kind of slowly working his way towards the bottom, but didn't want to make it that clear to Gerald Campbell, and made that move at the last possible second, so Campbell had nothing to do against it. And you can see this bottom lane is just running away with it here. Jeff Green, Tom Bourne, Jacob Adams here, all on the bottom as we head to the white flag.
Yes, Jacob Adams suddenly flying down pit road as we get the white flag. He gathers it up.
These guys out front are going to be a sitting duck right here. These guys out front are going to be absolutely a sitting duck.
Here comes a big run by Dylan Jones in that car. They're suddenly 3 wide. Jeff Green has run out of gas. Now to the outside. Look at this. 3 wide in the middle. Gerald Campbell gets through.
We got guys spinning all over the place. They're wrecking Jeff Green's around. It's Campbell and Dylan Jones. Dylan Jones, the open driver.
Has to make it here from the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. Dylan Jones wants to make sure he has a shot at getting into the Daytona 500. The best way to ensure that you're in the Daytona 500 is to win this race. Out of turn number 4, that's exactly what Dylan Jones is going to do. He scores duel number 1 in a bid for the Daytona 500.
Wow, and Craig Arvanites also comes back at the end there, and Jordan Owens, who thought he had it, who was contending for the win, as it all collapsed, he fell back down to P8, but Dylan Jones, Craig Arvanites, both of them advanced. Dylan Jones just coming out of nowhere with that one as the rest of the field kind of imploded on themselves there at the end of that race. What
just
a win.
like we all picked, right? Dylan Jones, that's what all of us agreed with, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're racing the tape.
Ran out of gas right there, and I think so did the 25. A lot of those guys that had not been down pit road did not make it on fuel with that second green-white checker. That was something I don't think anybody expected.
Yeah, that Jeff Green situation was strange. I'd love to see what...
Do you think when he overshot his pit box, he was like, I'll give it a little less fuel so I can keep my track position? Do you think that's what he did?
I guarantee you that's exactly what happened there. Yeah. He'd been leading so much, as well as the 25 car. I believe they both ran out of gas.
Ran out of gas. I think the 25 got churned coming to get the white by the 45 just in a little stack up.
Man, but it's... I don't know. That's just absolute craziness. But for Dylan Jones, it's victory here in this duel, and of course a chance to race for history in a Daytona 500 next Wednesday night. And the celebrations there in the Daytona Tri-Oval, absolutely deserved. I mean, we did not see that one coming. We were so focused on the Owens and Arvanites situation, and then he shifted to the front. We thought about that 22 car for a bit, and then he kind of got shuffled back in the order again. But man, oh man. What a way to kind of stick in it, and that's the whole thing with Daytona, is just hang on to it. No matter what's going on in your race, you don't know what happens until that checkered flag waves.
How about Fodey surfing over top of cars over there off of turn 2?
Yeah, I did see a car get airborne right there.
Yeah, he drove right up over top of cars, man. He was doing a surf over there.
We might have to go and take a look at that replay there. Let's see if we can find that. I'd love to see the Tyler Fodey flying on top of all these other cars.
Oh, just Daytona things.
See if we can find him here.
I think we have an early contender for the chaotic duel here, guys. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there. This I was questionable about it initially, but yeah, I'm thinking this one's the chaotic duel. We could see a pretty straightforward race here a little bit later.
Now, I do think what led to all that all started, in my opinion, what I believe from seeing it, is the 25 and the 45 get together off of 4, and that sends Jacob Adams down through the grass, and it kind of creates a gap. And when that gap is created, those guys then are just sitting out there. You got first, you got second, you got third. They're just out there separated. They're not on each other. They're separated. And then here comes the Dylan Jones and Gerald Campbell, and they're really packed up, and they have such a big run with the momentum in these cars from the pack that there was just nothing that these guys could do, and it obviously made matters worse when Jeff Green ran out of gas.
Yeah. Well, that, and it was actually the 15 Chad Frankenfield there that was able to push him, but I think there were a number of competitors that are suddenly slow, but I believe they would have been okay out of turn 4 coming to the white flag, but what really sealed the deal was when Jeff Green, your leader, runs out of fuel in front of the entire field. That is going to cause some chaos. Tyler Fodey, though, he did travel on top of somebody there.
I believe it was the 5, right? Was it the 5?
Yeah, it was the 5. Tyler Fodey just flew over on top of the 5 there. So, yeah, that was pretty crazy. But yeah, how about that? And let's talk to our race winner here and see if we can bring him in. But man, Dylan Jones, congratulations, man! It was an up and down night for sure for you. Watching kind of earlier on in the race, I think with Craig Arvanites and Jordan Owens kind of running away with it a little bit further up in terms of open drivers, but that race just kept coming back to you. And then that great run at the end, fending off Chad Frankenfield, not only advancing to the 500, but winning your duel starting on the second row. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had to put a new strategy together when I missed qualifying earlier. So I figured since I was starting in the back, I'd try to keep it in the back.
How'd that work out for you?
Turned out all right. I called a couple breaks with some cautions, but I lost the lead pack early on in the duel. But I kind of had a feeling we weren't going to stay green the whole thing.
Well, you had mentioned there you missed qualifying there, didn't have very much to go on. When you were able to get with the lead pack, how much of that was just learning to be around with these cars here and with these guys on this track, and how much of it was luck, trying to rake your way through the field in order to put you in the position that we saw here tonight?
I mean, I got some good teammates that have driven these cars a lot, but this is the first race that I've ran in the next gen, I think, on a super speedway, especially an elite. So, I mean, Chad helped me out a lot, just kind of let me know what to expect. And Tyler raced him a little bit last year, and then Cody Harrington's practiced him a lot as well. So then I also had Scott Crump there right behind me on the last restart, kind of helped me out with what lane I need to be in. So.
Well, the Daytona 500 is just 1 week away here. You're going to be running it. Hopefully you will be early. Don't miss this one here. That's the big show. Don't let this go for naught. But you mentioned that this is your batting 1,000, already. There was your first super speedway win and having your next gen test. But what do you feel at 500? Do you think this is going to be a taste of what is to come? Or how do you feel about your chances for the big show?
I mean, I kind of feel like Ricky Bobby right now. If it was an in-person interview, I wouldn't know what to do with my hands, but I'm going to give it hell anyway. So I'm going to be there, and I don't feel like I'm as good as most of these guys in elite. So I might as well just go ahead and try to put it up front in that too.
Well, you saw how much they wrecked tonight. I mean, what do you mean you don't feel like you're as good? But take me through the last lap and a half. Like, what were you thinking? And when you realized you were going to be able to have a shot to win the race, because you had to be thinking, maybe with 2 to go, maybe a lap and a half down the back stretch, even getting the white. Did you think at that point you were going to have a shot to win the race?
I mean, I was just kind of hoping that when I jumped to the high line that, some things would form behind me. And then, I heard Crump and Chad say that they were wrecking behind me. And at that point, I think I had Chad behind me, which having a teammate behind me helped. And then I was side by side with Gerald. So, I mean, until I cleared Gerald, I had no feeling I was going to win, having the high line. I didn't think that run would come there, but having Chad behind me, I guess a teammate behind me, was when I felt a little more comfortable.
All right. Well, thank you so much, man, for joining us. Congratulations again on grabbing that victory. An incredible job, an incredible race. Man, that best of luck, of course, next week in the 500. We're going to keep an eye out for that number 22 car starting on the second row. But Dylan Jones, your race winner for duel number 1 of the DH Designs Duels. We're going to transfer over to duel number 2 here in just a quick second. But Dylan, congratulations again, man. Going to look forward to watching you next week.
I appreciate it, guys.
All right, there's that 22 car. We're just loading into the duel number 2 lobby. So again, thanks to Dylan Jones for joining us up here in the booth. While we do have you guys in the booth and while we're loading up that new lobby, of course, we want to thank our great sponsors here at Elite Racing Leagues and start with DH Designs for sponsoring the 2 duels that we have here tonight. They're proud to sponsor the Elite Racing Leagues. They're a freelance graphic design group specialized in esports, sports marketing, and logos. You can actually reach out to them via DM on Twitter at DHDesigns809. That's at DHDesigns809. Check them out. Have done a lot of really great graphics for us here at the Racing Network. Of course, we've also got our series sponsor, Join APS. We don't get a chance to thank them enough. They've been a sponsor of the Cup Series for, basically forever, I think, here in the Elite Racing Leagues. They have a complete solution for all types of businesses that need to process credit card-related transactions. Their industry-specific solutions provide the best options for your business model. You have experienced client service representatives who understand what your processing needs are. So big shout out to Join APS, another great sponsor here at the Elite Racing Leagues. But loading in to the second duel here, getting ready to roll, and here we go. Drivers are just finishing up their practice. A little bit of chaos here on the racetrack. Just getting all of that out. Yeah, just getting all of that out of the way there, I think.
It's PTSD.
This can't be
hopefully
any more crazy than what we just saw, right? Like, we're not going to see anything close to that, right?
Oh, Chris, you haven't been with the booth with us. You just haven't been in the booth with us.
Man, I don't think I've ever thought that a race was that crazy when I was driving one of these things last season.
Yeah, always wonder, is it as crazy inside the race car as it is describing the action? And I don't know if I ever get a straight answer.
I don't feel like I ever remember being a part of anything like that, but maybe I was always able to be too far behind to see it.
Oh, man. Well, the safe guy tonight that's feeling pretty good no matter where he finishes here is a gentleman who I've had the privilege of meeting here several times actually in real life there. That's why I cannot believe he's going to be starting here second in that outside lane here to lead the Daytona 500. Glad to see him have a great run here tonight. And hopefully for the Daytona 500 in 1 week's time, he is going to be leading right now in that 84 car.
Yeah, Wyatt's a great guy. I had the pleasure of racing with him in the Truck Series a few seasons back as teammates at Pro Edge Racing. And yeah, he's just a ton of fun to talk to. Great to see him have the success stepping up into the Cup Series and to put down that crazy lap time right there at the end. We were covering that, Chris, during qualifying. And yeah, just the track conditions worked for him and was able to find that time, put down a great lap time. And he's going to be starting alongside Jeff Green on that front row. That's a pretty great front row there and great accomplishment. Now, of course, it's seeing what he can do to back up that effort here in the duels.
Now, this race has got, one of our championship 4 from last year. We got Vandesant in here. We've got Josh Adams, Tate Lytle. There's some good guys in here. Johnny Thomas, the previous winner of the 500. Colin Bowden's in here. We got Ethan is in here. David Tooker, R.C. Enerson. I think this has got a little bit more of the heavy guys that we've seen previously. I don't think there's as many newer guys in here. I mean, there's a few, but this has got a lot of the guys that we've seen in Elite run multiple series and see what they can do out here and maybe not wreck as much.
Yeah, we'll have to see that. In terms of open guys, I believe, who do we have open drivers? Trey Holmes will be the first open driver starting that 88 car on the inside line. Next, in terms of open drivers, I'll have to double check and see exactly where they all are. We'll keep track there as we get this race started.
Duel number 2 about to be underway to decide the rest of the running order of the Daytona 500. Wyatt Nyland leads them down through the tri-oval, and we are back under green at Daytona. Looks like Trey Holmes, you had mentioned there, we know is an open car for sure, right on the back bumper of that 84 car. Takes these guys about a lap and a half to truly get up to speed, but as I like to say, they travel the length of a football field a second. Josh Robin in that 8 car there, working that violet defense, number 8. And a familiar paint scheme that'll be driven by Keselowski later this week, who's going to be leading lap number 1, that outside line actually hanging tough. You see R.C. Anderson in that 50 car doing all he can, a couple of blue ovals, make it 3 blue ovals in that outside lane. As you see the 8 car, make sure he keeps it near the wall, not going to allow that 84 car any side draft, and he'll be rewarded by leading lap number 1 here, as there's further commotion in the back of the pack, 3 wide as they enter turn number 1.
Yeah, Josh Robin there, a little bit high off of turn number 4. That was interesting there to follow, but keeps it rolling in the right direction. He's got R.C. Anderson right behind him. We've got 2 strong lanes right now running, both on the top and bottom, and this is great to see here because there really hasn't been any clear indication as to which one's stronger. They both kind of become disorganized around the same point, and that's this 3-wide fight we've got here with Alexander Vandesant. Who else do we have in this one? You've got Colin Bowden there in that 69 car, all the way up into 10th position already. He's up 14 spots on lap 2 from his starting spot. That's crazy from Colin Bowden there.
And we've already done a better job than the first race. They didn't even get back to the line. We're on lap 3, still green.
Don't say things like that, Chris. We're going to get a bunch of cautions now based off of that. But 3 wide here, and that doesn't bode well for us, but they keep it nice and clean for now as R.C. Anderson takes over the lead on that. Oh, no, excuse me, never mind. He doesn't take over the lead on that top line at all. He's still behind Josh Robin, but Wyatt Nadel and Trey Holmes still lead the way on that bottom lane.
Trey Holmes doing all he can right now. Johnny Thomas, though, in that 91, he's our defending Daytona 500 champion there. That 91 car doing an excellent job. Always seems to be a factor at the super speedway races. Hanging tough in the 5th position right now, as everybody seems to have found their footing. And yes, a much calmer duel number 2 to begin. Will we see that transfer through the rest of the race? Time will tell. The 61 car, Stafford, in that outside lane, hanging tough, 3rd in line. Oh, but he's now suddenly put 3 wide. Looks like a little bit of commotion that's going to ruin the momentum in that outside lane just briefly. That's going to allow that 84 and the 88 car once again to attack. But Josh Robin, before the 84 car can get there, he leaves R.C. Anderson in the high lane, and now Robin will take it to the inside and cover the spot.
I've been watching Bowden. He has been very aggressive, making 3 wide moves, coming through this pack. Like, he wants to get to the front. That's about the only car that I'm seeing out here right now that's really being aggressive, trying to make moves.
Yeah, early in the race to be running too aggressively, but we know that's how Colin Bowden rolls. He wants to lead the race. He wants to dominate races and lead from the front. And he's pretty much there right now. There you see Bronson Stafford actually going to run to the bottom there, and now already Colin Bowden leading his own pack on the outside there, up 23 positions as he leads the way. David Tooker up there as well, but no one has moved up the order faster than Colin Bowden has in these first few laps. Again, up from 24th starting spot into the lead already on that 5.
Yeah, driving that number 69 car. Nice. Doing a great job there, leading in front with the 19 of David Tooker, who's trying to cover the spot. But look at this, an aggressive block. Will that play into the factor of changing the lead? It does. David Tooker now will take that around as the 69 car. Because of that block, he lost a lot of momentum, and that allowed that outside line a fighting chance. Here come the 32 as well. Dustin Durer doing a great job.
I had a chance to talk to some of these drivers after qualifying. They told me he could not get away with blocking very long with the runs. So he got away with that one, but how much longer do you think these guys will be able to get away with throwing blocks like that?
Only time will tell. I'm surprised that kind of the revolving door as we see the 04 car in front of the 69 that we're seeing in that inside line. When we talk about Daytona, normally there is a strong line, whether it be the inside or the outside. There is usually a dominant line. I don't know if we have necessarily seen that here tonight out of both duels so far. Right now, that outside lane, I would say seems to be dominant, but everybody's going to the bottom like they want the bottom to work. So it's just a very confusing race. I would think in my notes that would be kind of distracting for me. I wouldn't know necessarily what lane to pick because to me the numbers prove that you should be on the bottom. That's where everyone is, but that top side is hanging tough.
Yeah, I think if I was one of these guys in this duel, and I watched that first duel, I'm going to see that the top, we talked about it towards the end of that race. Like, everybody would take the lead on the top and make great runs and then drop to the bottom and get passed. I think if I was watching that duel, I'm going to say, look, I'm going to run the top. That seems to be the best place to be. If I have a friend or two that will stay up there with me, I think you could keep the lead on the top. I don't think you need to be dropping to the bottom like we've had to do in the past.
Right now, a couple of Pro Edge Racing teammates there in that outside lane leading in that charge to the top. The 19 David Zucker and Ethan Burrell, wasn't so long ago, he was stacked 3 wide, has been able to work very well. And Belly Up Racing just behind him with the 95, that's Brandon Key. And I thought I saw Johnny Thomas there in the 91 car. Yes, there he is, that number 91 car, brightly colored and green, trying to get to the back. Remember, there's Colin Bonin. They have trapped the 8 car there. Josh Robin, the outside pole sitter for this race on the high lane. Wow, look at that slicing and dicing from the bottom to the top. Went Dustin Durer, but any sudden movement that we've seen like that, it really slows down and allows that other lane to fight back.
Yeah, Dustin Durer, huge run there. Does a great job getting up to the front. He's had some really good runs at Daytona, and he loves this racetrack. Just able to find that little bit extra, I think, versus some of the other tracks that we go to this season, and showing that right now early on in this duel. But he's just gotten caught out here. He's in kind of the middle there, and yeah, that's limbo right there. He's going to lose a ton of positions. He had it for a second, but yeah, ended up falling behind there. Josh Adams then gets on by, and now it's Josh Adams and Colin Bowden leading this top lane. They're going to try and see if they can reorganize and try and put a fight up to Ethan Burrell and David Tooker. Those 2 Pro Edge Toyotas, though, could we be seeing something similar to what we saw with Fodey and Green in that first duel? And then you've got, again, teammates 1-2 on the bottom. They can kind of control this race from here.
Right now, Alexander Vandesant there in that 97 just behind him. He is his first bow tie. With the 95 kind of trapped to his outside lane. It'll be Toyotas, though, still working the draft with one another. We're beginning to see numbers kind of free fall in that outside lane. It's beginning to be a slimmer party, but no one's been able to tell who's ever been leading it up front. But now look at this. They're 3 wide in our leader with a big blimp right there. He gets back in line, but did that spoil the big run by... Oh, the 69 Colin Bowden gets turned, and there it is. Caution.
Oh, and he stays actually pointing in the right direction, but it's your...
We go into the wall. Yes, that's Brandon Key and Johnny Thomas. Belly Up Racing with a horrible start to this duel number 2.
Man, not great there for... It was Josh Adams and Johnny Thomas, but yeah, I mean, there you go. Both of them go around. Yes. Oh, Adams goes around and just ends up T-boning Johnny Thomas, who had nowhere to go on that one. You see him trying to avoid it. The 04 as well gets spun around. It all starts a little bit further up.
That is some heavy damage on the 95 car who connects with Johnny Thomas there, then plows to the inside safer barrier as well.
Oops.
Yeah, I think what started all that is the 69 made a 3 wide move down there into 3, got 3 wide, and he tried to clear himself up off of 4, and Josh Adams was still out there, and they got together, and we talked about it. We talked about him being really aggressive and how long he could get away with it. But maybe about 10 laps, he got away with it.
Oh, there you go.
But he's still running. He's still good, so his car is still good enough to continue. These other guys, they might be done.
Yeah, so 69 car deemed at fault by race control. He's going to be sent to the end of the line.
Yeah, and my mistake there, the new cars and everything, I think Brandon was in that the last time, but you're right. Josh Adams, a big victim in that one. And then Johnny Thomas as well as the 04, all going to receive some sort of damage out of our first incident in duel number 2. This is going to open up for strategy on pit road. I'm curious to know exactly what, as we see, whoa, Dustin Durer with an issue on the backstretch. Don't know if it just popped out of gear there or something to do on his rig. But he just went spinning on his own. Don't know necessarily what the call is for if you lose a position under the yellow flag if you have to give those spots. I know in real life.
Oh, there he goes.
Right in front of our poles that are there. He
One too
downshifted
many
that.
times.
Exactly,
He got all the
yeah.
way down to the first gear, and it maxed out the RPM.
Yep. It's a bit of a mistake there for Dustin Durer. He should get all his spots back. I believe he does.
I do think that there is a rule in Elite, though. I think he will get sent back. I believe we saw this in the F1 race, our first F1 race a couple weeks ago. One guy spun out under yellow, and he got an EOL for it. So I do think that Dustin will get an EOL for that.
No harm, no foul, though. Thankfully, he didn't take any other competitor but himself out. I know the 84 car, Wyatt, had a big view of that.
Well, they're all on pit road. Literally every single car out on pit road here. It's going to be fuel only for, I think, most of them here because we're right there within that window. You should be able to make it fairly easily, I think, towards the end of the race here if we had no more cautions. They did make it quite a bit further than that other group, like Chris mentioned earlier. So yeah, we'll end up seeing here just how this plays out. This could be an interesting fuel race.
So the 83 looks like he stayed out. Was he the only car that stayed out, or did he just take that short of fuel versus everybody else?
I believe he actually missed his pit box.
Okay, that would be why.
He was showing on pit lane. I'm pretty sure he was showing on pit lane. It does show him as 27 seconds pit lane rolling time, but he never actually ended up hitting his pit box.
Yeah, it looks like he went over and maybe realized he missed it and just came back out. Very heads up. I've seen some wrecks happen when people try to just stop when they see their box and realize they've passed it and get ran into. So it looked like that was a very heads up maneuver there by Shane to just pull back out and say, you know what, I can come back and get this fuel. I can't get away with tearing a race car up on pit road.
So that's going to hand the lead back to Ethan Burrell and David Tooker, the Pro Edge Racing team. Going to be in control on this next restart here. Keep an eye on the 32 car, see if he will receive an EOL. Looks like he remedied that, but don't know if he's been sent that message from race control or not. So we see the 83 car hopefully not miss his pit box this time. All eyes are on him. We'll see.
Hopefully he makes it there and does a nice job at stopping there in his pit box. Maybe a little bit too far forward. But yeah, back to the guys up front. Lights out on the pace car. Burrell and Tooker. A little bit of a blink there for Ethan. We'll see if that continues to be an issue. But yeah, this will be interesting here. The top group didn't really get heavily affected by anything that happened there, despite that being kind of Colin Bowden, who was running up front earlier. Kind of being the cause of that incident. So not too much craziness and too much change in the running order from what I can see here. So as it stands right now, I believe Brody Moore would be our first open driver. I got to make sure I got these right. No, Brody, I think, is actually chartered. We'll take a look here and see who exactly our first open driver is. It might be Josh Hodges in the 57 car there. That's a car to look out for, that bright yellow 57. And Joey Chapman, I believe those are your top two drivers that are open, currently racing to get their way into the Daytona 500. So look out for those two cars right there. That's another of those FRN cars. I don't know if you've worked much with Joey Chapman there, Chris.
I have not. I'm friends with the guys that he races with now, Shane and Bronson and Tom and those guys. I know those guys, but I do not know Joey.
All right. So getting set for the restart here, I believe. Nope. Or yes, sorry. That was a weird camera angle. I didn't see the pace car ducked there down low, but we are back underway here, and immediately we see the 37 car ducked down low, the 8 and the 84 on that high lane. I'm only feeling for that 8 car. He seems to be the only bow tie. Actually, no, there's not bow tie, excuse me, blue oval. There seems to be another one just behind him. But immediately we saw the 37 car get in front of his teammate there. And we're going to see those guys hooked up nose to tail. But again, on the bottom lane, it seems to take it just a lap or so to truly get going. In that outside lane, trying to do all they can to make sure they take advantage of that.
Absolutely, as they come around turn 2. Ethan Burrell, David Tooker, Linus Stern there on that bottom. Josh Robin and that top lane not really kind of firing off the way they would hope. Only 4 cars up there trying to make that line work. So on this particular restart, you definitely want to be on the bottom here. It definitely seems to be the line that just got organized a little bit quicker.
Yes, it is not unknown. Some of these paint schemes they're running are homage to some of the cup schemes that we're going to see here later on this week. But that 61 car, that is very much a nice looking paint scheme. I would imagine that's also from RFK there. It looks very, very familiar there. I've seen some Brad Kozlowski paint schemes there come to life, and it just warms my heart. I just want to say that. We were talking about the Super Bowl earlier. Big things we expect out of that 61 and that 8 car who's trying to do all he can in that outside line. Here comes some help. That's RC Anderson in that 50 trying to lead that charge in front of the 8. Also, no penalty for the 32 car. He was able to keep that position there, actually gain some positions there on pit road. My only worry would be, and if this is even a thing, would have been flat spotting those tires there. If he took some life out of that with that spin. But looks like no harm, no foul for that 32 car. Look at the back bumper. If we could ride on board with that 50 car, it would be a miracle of that 8. Doing all he can, a shove out of turn number 4. Just doesn't seem to be able to get going. And here we go. There's that bumper. You're inside the 8 car of Josh Robin. Yeah, I always say, Rich, nobody gets you closer to the action than we do, and that's always the case here.
That really is. I mean, just look at that. Just right there. And now you're going to get a little bit of separation, but through the corners. I mean, having that kind of, that close running together through the corners is pretty craziness, and you're going to see that same thing. The bump's going to start again, and he's going to try and push RC Anderson as far along as he can. Just that gap, I think, in that top lane is hurting them right now, but they're starting to find their momentum. They're starting to push back on that inside line. They just need a little bit more to line up because these first 2 guys are doing a great job, Robin and Enerson. But I think they're going to need Chapman, that's Nail on the top line as well to join them. Same with Colin Bowden, who's still in there.
I just want to give a shout out to Hodges, too. Joshua Hodges. How about that car? You're talking about cars out here. A little bit of a throwback to Neil Bonnet. He might be dating himself a little bit running something like that. Maybe people won't realize what it is or remember what it is, but that's quite cool that he was able to get that for this race.
That's something I was talking to some of my coworkers actually before. It'll be interesting to see some of the throwbacks this year on this next gen car, how they work with the space that is given to them by moving that number up front. I'll be interested to see, but that is definitely a nice throwback to a NASCAR winner and someone who had unfortunately lost their life here at this speedway, I believe back in 1994. Outside lane, though, here we go. See that 61 car break out in front of the 50 RC Anderson, and now just that little bit had stalled out that inside lane as we begin to see some distance and improvement being made by that outside lane. Here they come, the 61 car. Ford's on the outside, Toyota's on the inside. Give it to the Blue Ovals. They'll race down into turn number 3 and taking the lead, at least briefly for a moment, to 61 car Stafford, trying to do all he can, asking RC Anderson not to lay off the gas here. Still side by side, who would lead this lap? It would be the 61 by a nose. And once again, they're side by side, 4, 5, 6 rows deep throughout the entire field.
Yeah, they're not quite there on that top line. They're so close. RC Anderson doing a great job here pushing Bronson Stafford, and they're flipping back and forth between Burrell and Stafford for leading this race throughout this lap. Stafford might have the run, though, on this back straightaway. Can he, though, take RC Anderson with him to the bottom line? Because he's definitely going there, and there he goes.
It's mind-blowing to me here. It just seems to me anytime somebody gets to the bottom of the racetrack, that outside line begins to take off, and then suddenly what looks like, and what was a great decision in 3 or 4 laps, you find yourself marred back in the pack. We'll see if that plays out for that 61 car. RC Anderson's getting a big shove by the 8 of Josh Robin.
And it's very easy to pick out Bronson's teammates. I think that's pretty cool that they came to the Speedway all in the exact same cars that just look a little bit different. Green, we got, what is it? Kind of a burnt orange there on the 60.
We had the purple and the blue in the last duel. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's a cool little thing that they've got running there.
Just like I mentioned, and just what I have been to fruition here, that outside line takes it away. It was short-lived by the 61 car, but R.C. Anderson now doing a great job from Robin, our outside pole sitter. Here come the Pro Edge cars, looking to try and take their chance for the lead as we see the 37 car. He expertly got to the side of the 61 car and stalled out that entire outside line created by that. The 37 car, he'll dive down low, take it to the inside of Josh Robin. He'll take his teammate with him.
That's going to leave that 8 car.
Looking like the Pied Piper. Oh, the 61 out of line.
60 and 61 both out of line there. They slot back in order there. Joey Chapman down in 14th. Bronson Stafford down in 9th now.
They got away with one back there in that checkup, that big ordeal. They got away without wrecking race cars.
I want to go back to what we saw the 37 car do. That sent that 61 car back. The 37 car was behind Bradford in that 61 right there at that section of the Speedway. 1 lap ago, he was able to stall out with that side draft, and when he did so, that immediately hurt any chance of R.C. Anderson trying to keep up. That then gave the momentum, that outside line, the push is what they call it, and he was then able to take his teammate to the inside, and that's why we see that 37 car. I mean, it was expertly put down by Ethan Burrell. That was something I would expect Dale Jr., Dale Earnhardt to be in the book on. That was a wonderful move made by the 37 car right there.
And one interesting thing here is we got Pro Edge out front, right? You got Ethan and you got Tooker, but they have Tate in here, but Tate is just riding at the back, doing his own thing. He's letting them go up there and dice it up. So they do have other Pro Edge cars, and I have to think Tate, being a previous champion, is just going to bide his time, and he will eventually be up there battling for this win when it comes time.
I would agree with you, but I'd also very heavily disagree with you. Tate's been pretty self-aware about his hatred, I think is a pretty safe word to use there for super speedways there. We'll see, though. He's had some results there before, but he's also had some pretty poor luck. Just doesn't seem to gel with these locations, but it would not surprise me if he's found something and is willing to, and is trying something out just a little bit different here today. Trying to run out in the back and make something happen a little bit later in this race.
Maybe he's just hiding. He's waiting for that wreck. He's like, I'm going to hide. That way I can try to at least get to the end of one of these things.
Halfway in duel number 2, 25 laps to go. You see Anderson lead them across the stripe. There goes the 8 car in front of that 69. Colin Bowen rebounding early from that end-of-line penalty after causing that first wreck that we've had. Trying to remedy it by getting back up to the point. Ethan Burrell doing all he can, though, in that 37 car to deny that chance. He's now pushing the 50 car, but he has been perhaps one of the only cars that I've seen been able to pull out with ease and go exactly where he wants to trap those guys behind him.
Yeah, Burrell's looks really good. Just those 2 Pro Edge Toyotas right now just looking really comfortable up front. Even behind R.C. Anderson here, he doesn't seem too bothered by it. He's definitely trying to see if he can find a way by. I think he'd prefer to be leading, but certainly no concerns there, I think, by being passed by that 50 car. They just seem to have a general control over the way they want this race to play out right now, and that's working in their favor here. If they can stay out of trouble as well, those 2 are going to be a threat.
Yeah, we're beginning to see that outside line fall back just a little bit. They were right up there near the 2nd, 3rd position, now kind of back in the 4th and 5th. You see Dustin Durer doing a great job there, trying to hang tough as well in that 32. He's pushing the 69. But Robin, he seems loose leading that pack. Seen that car kind of step out a little bit there on the exit of turn 2 and 4. Could be because of the 69 car that's pushing them. Don't really have a lot of traction there when your rear tires are off the ground, I've heard.
Typically not there, but yeah, we'll kind of see. This top lane, they've got a lot of cars here. They're maybe just not as organized, but I think we're starting to see them pull a little bit closer and closer to the front of this bottom lane. we'll see how quickly they can get back up there and if they can maintain that kind of pace here. Colin Bowden, we know how aggressive he wants to race. We saw how aggressive he was at the early stages of the race, and what he plans to do. He's now going to be leading this outside lane here as Josh Robin dives to the bottom.
And I will point out, Colin was very aggressive earlier, and we were real quick to say something about it. But he has been a lot more patient, and I think a little bit of what we're seeing here with the top lane maybe not pushing all the way to the front, these guys all had a chance to watch that last race, and they might be thinking, you know what, why are we trying to get to the front on lap 30? So maybe these guys aren't quite pushing as hard as they could until it comes time.
Yeah, great point there.
How hard, how difficult is it to push a car, especially one that's unknown as much as we've seen with this package and with this new car here? How hard is it? Because to me, it always seems like a no-no to be pushing that close in the corner. We just don't like seeing that. That typically causes some big wrecks. These guys are doing so in the corner. We've seen some people step out because of that there. What is the line?
You don't want pushed in the corner unless it's like the last lap and it's a guy you trust and you're like, hey, you know what? Just push the shit out of me and see what happens. But a lot of times it's push on the straightaway. You try to make sure you're square. If you're not square, you're going to wreck a lot of guys, and you don't want to push too hard in the corner unless you absolutely have to. It's a lot of trial and error, and you hope when you mess it up, it doesn't wreck a bunch of cars. And you hope that you don't have to push too hard until it comes time. You know, a lot of, like these guys, like I said, watch that first race, and they know that there was maybe some moves made that were maybe not needed at that point in the race. And these guys might be sitting here thinking, let's not tear everybody up, and let's get to the end and actually have some cars out here to race at the end.
Yeah, right now from first through, I believe, 22nd there, Tate Lytle on the rear of this field. Anderson there up front, but only separated by, I would imagine, just 2.5 seconds here. We are definitely on pace to beat duel number 1 quite a bit here with only 1 caution flag versus the 7 that we saw in duel 1. Robin, back to the inside line there in that 8 car.
And I will say I have been in communication with some of these teams here in the last couple minutes. They are good on fuel. These guys are not going to have to make another stop. They're right on the number, maybe a little bit past it for 1 or maybe 2 green-white checkers, but they are good on fuel.
Strategy on pit road taken care of early with that 1 wreck. That means we are going to have a race to the finish. Anderson in that 50 continuing to lead there, but that 37-19 I have to imagine are just biding their time. However, will it be time enough to stop that 69 in that 32? They've been able to hook up, and right now, at outside line beginning, form an attack and fight back.
Yeah, they're starting to look dangerous here. We'll see what these 2 lapped cars do for how these guys are racing, because those guys are both on the bottom right now, and they don't look like they're getting ready to migrate up top either. So we could see the this lead pack actually forced to go up off this yellow line here. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So let's see how they tackle this.
Dustin did something really smart into 3, knowing they were catching lap cars. He had been pushing all over the 69, and going into 3, he lifted and gave him about a car length because of those lap cars that were coming back to him. That was very wise, very smart, and a good way to just avoid putting somebody in a bad spot right there. Now they're 3 wide, so obviously they're in a bad spot anyway.
Oh, as we go around this pack, there is still some commotion in the car trapped below that yellow line there. I believe that might be the lapper of the 83 that's allowed that outside line, though, through all this chaos. A shot to try and take the lead away. Here comes the 69 and the 32. You had mentioned there a little bit of that gap to allow that 69 to catch it. It's not there anymore. Look at Colin Bowden try to take the lead away. They'll have a shot at it as they enter the trial in from the back of the pack once again to the lead. Colin Bowden leads that lap.
Yeah, great push from Dustin Durer as well, working really hard to keep that 69 up front. And how about this, Caleb Thompson as well in the 04 car. There's an open driver as well. Colin Bowden trying to get confirmation of race control whether or not he is actually an open driver. Because if he is, that's another huge thing right there. Colin Bowden and Caleb Thompson could be the 2 guys right now as we got a car around off the racetrack.
There, it's a single car issue, so don't know if that's going to bring out the yellow. It's going to be the 60.
Joey Chapman there in that 60 car just completely lost it there down this back straightaway. Let's see if we can find. Gets just a tap from behind. We didn't quite catch who it was.
I believe if they're similar colors, so I don't know if that was a teammate there or not, but I believe it was the 61 that got into the back of him.
No, I believe it was the one. The one came from the wall all the way down towards the middle like he was going to shoot the gap and kind of got together with him.
Man, oh man, all right. So there you go. That doesn't bring out a caution because the incident happens off the track. But so for Joey Chapman, that's really unfortunate. You're going to need a caution to come pretty soon. Otherwise, he runs the risk of running a lap down here. Meanwhile, two of his rivals fighting it out for those two open spots. Colin Bowden and Caleb Thompson, the two guys leading the way in this particular duel.
Yeah, but he could be just far enough away from the pack that he could find himself out of harm's way. We saw that happen and play out in duel number 1, who ended up losing the lead draft there early. It was Dylan Jones in that 22 car.
And just another interesting race that's going on right now here. If there is a caution, we will have a lucky dog. So we do have some lappers here that have stayed in this lead pack who are going to be racing each other for the lucky dog on top of everybody racing for a position already. So it may get very interesting here real quick.
Yeah, that one in that 83 car, they got forced into the pack, but they weren't so far damaged that they have not been left by the pack. Oh! Big contact there, almost wheel to wheel, and they're suddenly 3 wide down the back stretch.
Yeah, and I didn't mention, I don't know if he just hopped up here. I just saw it on Timing and Scoring. Alexander Vandesant is inside this top 3, and despite being a Championship 4 driver last season, not in a chartered car this time around, he's another open driver, so he's trying to race his way into the Daytona 500. It's no guarantee for him this time by. Again, a guy who finished Championship 4 last season. You'd think he's got a shot here, and he certainly looks like he does, racing right behind those first 2 guys in front. But remember, only 2 of these guys will advance from this particular duel.
So the 69, the 04, and the 97 are going to be guys that we will be keeping an eye on toward the end of this one. They're guys that are running up front and in contention to win this race. What happened to Pro Edge Racing? Weren't they just in control a moment ago? They're now marred back as we see Caleb Thompson in that 04 car. Ooh, get very loose in front of the 97, and that outside line is going to fall because of that.
Yeah, I think patience is out the window now. I think we were talking about how they were being very cautious, trying to get towards the end. Well, we're inside of 15 to go now. It's time to start pushing and shoving and trying to make something happen.
Yeah, and how about that? Just as you say that, Ethan Burrell, David Tooker, both migrate to the top lane here after running on the bottom for quite some time. I think they got maybe a little bit sick and tired of watching guys go past on the top, and now they're getting ready to organize that top lane, put them all together, and see if they can mount an attack with the help of RC Anderson, it seems, on these top few drivers.
Anderson, these guys are not teammates, but they've been nose to tail. They've been able to work fairly well together because they've been in control of this race here. So I think that 37 car very happy and able to push that 50 car. I think that's one he's been able to trust. And as I say that, they're able to go to the lead just like that. Question is, do they go to the bottom of the racetrack? Do they stay up front?
I can tell you from just getting to know Ethan and Tooker, if they trust you, they'll work with you like a teammate. Now, obviously, they wanted to take the lead, but Ethan was a big part of the reason that I was able to be at the front.
Oh, we got a wreck.
Big hits out of turn 2 and most of the field trying to have to dive out of that one. The 28, that Joshua Clark. It is.
Yes, Sam Therrien as well involved in that one. I can't tell who that last car is. That Sam Bautel? No, I have no idea who that car was. Out on the racetrack. Car spun around back there. No clue. Doesn't quite clearly tell me.
Heavily damaged there as well.
Yeah, let's...
He was a lap car earlier. They're 3
Oh,
wide.
netcode. That looked like netcode to me.
Dustin Durer there, the unfortunate star of this grinding crash out of turn 2.
Look, here's Josh Clark trying to avoid it. Goes down to the apron, but just gets spun back up in there. And same thing, I think we're going to see this with Shane Therrien.
Josh Robin with a piece of the action as well.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you guys take a look at Tate Lytle there? Do a great job to miss that wreck. Still running.
The only worry about being in the back of the pack when a wreck happens is you have to miss it. Let's see how he does.
Whew.
with room to spare there.
Yeah,
Take a
Tate
breath
Lytle.
away, and great wreck avoidance out of our defending series champion.
Yeah, big damage there to that 83 of Therian. So unfortunate to see there. And with 11 laps to go, I'd imagine everybody stays out. You should all be good on fuel. There shouldn't be any calls really to be coming down pit road here. Don't think tire wear is going to be that significant either, right, Chris? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think tire wear maybe is probably not going to be that significant. But these guys that are pitting, I think, are fixing damage. We saw all these cars get bounced off of, and, Bronson's got good damage. The 57 was part of that initial contact. The guys that are pitting here, they're all fixing damage.
And there you see Race Control calling that a racing deal. Expect a lot more leniency as well this season from Race Control, some changes in the rules. I mentioned a little bit earlier, and that was actually missaid by me and EOL. We're not doing that same system of end-of-line penalties again this season. We have drivers who are deemed at fault for issues, and those faults can pick up over a season, but within the race, those end-of-line penalties are not going to be assessed to drivers, is my understanding of the new rules. So, again, a little bit different. Guys are also going to get used to that, and the goal, I think, is just to allow for closer racing, allow guys to kind of go for it without being too worried about being sent to the back of the pack if maybe a little bit of hard racing goes wrong. So, interesting method there by Race Control and by the league to go for that, and we'll see how that pays off over the course of the season. I think it's going to be interesting to see this more lax, I think, approach to Race Control.
I'll tell you this. The way the EOL system did not stop anybody from making moves. There was never a thought for anybody out there that was racing to think, oh, you know what? I don't want this EOL, so I'm not going to take this whole no. We're going to send it every time.
Well, you mentioned a little bit of lax here this season here. It's been a little lax as far as cars torn up in duel number 2 versus duel number 1. However, the issues that we have had have been enough to hurt the chances of a considerable amount of drivers here. I believe I was looking through my notes, and at least 9 cars involved with that one. I think that's all had damage, and I think that might be the biggest wreck of the night, despite what we saw in duel number 1.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I guess I didn't count the last wreck of that. I didn't count the last wreck in duel 1.
Yeah, we got plenty of laps for these guys to tear up the rest of these race cars right now.
All right, so you're going to have Pro Edge teammates on the bottom, I believe. Yep. The 19 and the 37 car that allows the 50 in the 04. A couple of Fords in that outside lane are top cars needing to advance. The 04 and the 97 hold that spot. The guy that's trying to take it away from them is going to be Colin Bowden in that 69, and we know he is aggressive.
Yeah, Trey Holmes there as well is one of those open drivers. We've got a very tight group of open drivers right here within our top 8, 4 of them, in fact. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting, and I think it's going to go all the way until the last corner of the last lap in terms of deciding who's actually making the show here.
Yeah, and you know who's got his car fixed and is back up in this thing now is Johnny Thomas. We saw him get hammered in that first wreck earlier, and now here he is. He's going to have a shot, We saw him win at Daytona before. He won the 500 last time. So, I would not count anybody out, but, especially Johnny Thomas, a guy who knows that he can get the job done at Daytona.
8 laps to go. When they flash across the stripe, the field will be in the hands of the 37 car, who has shown the most muscle in Stage 2, but R.C. Anderson actually has led the most laps. They both will lead the field back under the green flag here, and the 37 car on the loud pedal early. Help from the 19, his teammate right behind him. We're back under green here at Daytona. Well, you saw he actually switched lanes there to try to cover the spot. Was it enough, or did that hurt the momentum needed in that inside line, and allow that 50 car another run? Right now, it looks like the 04 car is going to be our top open car, and help from the 88 of Trey Holmes, that outside line hanging tough Tony Moore in that 13 as well in the mix. Haven't talked about him all day long, but he has a solid run going for him inside the top 5. Trey Holmes in desperate mode here needs to clear that 69 car and another competitor behind him in order to make sure he has a shot. Best that he's in the wall and he collects the Alexander Vandesant. And just like that, Josh Robin is in it, upside down as he's
my goodness
by another competitor.
Oh man.
And the 88, I believe his chance of going to the Daytona 500 is over. Take a look at what happened there.
Same for Vandesant there as well, I think. That's a huge hit for that 8 car.
I think the 6 car was tumbling, just absolutely barrel rolling down here. I don't think any of those guys
just got the wall. He just got the wall there, and it was enough just to send that car out of shape. And I mean, wow.
Oh.
Josh Robin with an incredibly wild ride at Daytona.
Yeah,
that whole second group came in and clobbered those cars. I don't know why they didn't check up any more than what they did.
Yeah, let's see if we can find out. Where's Josh Robin here? Let's go for a ride with this car. I think that's going to be quite the adventure here. And this is the 8 car of Josh Robin. Just nowhere to go there. And then it's not this initial incident, but it's the second hit of that next group of cars. And you're just days over there for that 8 car.
Yeah, and the 8 car took the brunt of that. But like the 61, these other guys came in and they just all hit the wreck.
Yeah, there was very little wreck avoidance there. That was really interesting. And there's a big...
things happen so fast here at Daytona. Was there enough time? Initially, you can see that there's a wreck coming, or perhaps you're leading that second pack, you get run into from behind. They could very well have been in the gas, and we've seen that play out time after time after time. And it's a tale as old as time at Daytona.
They kind of ran over each other checking up. The 87 got hit when he checked up. That's what happened. They were trying to check up, and they ran into each other.
So here's the initial incident. You can see how far back. There's a lot of gap, though, to that second group. I think a lot of them could have avoided that a little bit better than they did.
Yeah, you're right there. That angle does so. At least most of the infield portion that's been paved recently.
Generally not being used during that wreck avoidance there. So it's tough, obviously. You're driving so fast. You're focused on what's going on right next to you and right in front of you, and you're not really noticing what's happening maybe 5-10 car lengths in front of you. So I can definitely understand that, but yeah, that's unfortunate there.
Yeah, thankful for the 8 car that was not real, because that would have been a hellacious hit.
Yeah,
and Tate missed another one too. There's Tate Lytle missing another wreck.
Yeah,
his luck is changing here.
I wouldn't say that just yet.
I swear I have seen Tate Lytle win races he has not been a part of. He just comes out of nowhere. It's just like, what?
Yeah, Tate
Lytle. Look at that car. Look how clean it is. Not a scratch on that car.
It is pretty impressive there.
You're talking about him a lot here, Chris. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be getting a message afterwards if it doesn't end this pretty.
Yeah, you got to get ready for the hate mail that comes along with being a commentator here in any racing series, I suppose.
Yeah.
When you start jinxing the drivers.
I get all mine now. I just recently got mine all forwarded to my spam folder, so I'm good now. New for this season.
But one thing I will say about these guys, this group in Elite, and you guys in the broadcast as well, it's such a tight-knit group. It's like a you get mad at each other, but you get over it and you deal with it, and everybody in here, I feel like, likes everybody. A lot of these guys, I've made really great friends, that I didn't know before Elite, and these guys are awesome to communicate with and get on the sim and mess around with, and getting to know everybody is a lot of fun.
So I believe we're going to restart here. We might restart with 3 laps to go. So that would not take us officially into overtime.
Yeah, we'd save one of our green-white checker. I believe we have 3 green-white checker attempts here. I think we'll save that first one.
We ain't going to need them. We're going to do it green, right? We're not going to need another yellow.
I hope so. Let's see. I will say this one, I think this has definitely been the tamer of the duels, but of the few incidents we've had, I think the few incidents have been larger.
Yeah. It's just unexpected.
Yeah, it's been interesting the way it's not as black and white, I think, as we normally see with duels, where it's one's chaos and one's pretty straightforward. I think both have been fairly standard in my eyes. I don't think anyone's been too ridiculous and anyone's been, too sterile. I think it's been a pretty good mix of racing here. So, guys being aggressive where they need to be, guys also, knowing to, hold back when they need to and play it safe. And, I mean, there you see just peeking his nose out, Tate Lytle. Who knows what he could pull off there. Fourth in line on that outside row. That could very easily turn into some pretty good track position, depending on how this restart goes.
And Brady Moore here, I want to give a shout-out to him about his car, too. That car's still clean, but that car, it kind of looks like an old movie car. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Talladega Nights, but you think there's a Cougar riding in that car with him?
It's got to be.
I think there's a Cougar in all these drivers here tonight. They all want one thing, to try and win. We are going to settle it here. 3 laps to go. 3 laps to decide who's in the show. I believe that wreck did take out Trey Holmes and Alexander Vandesant, so I don't know who the next car is, but the 13 and the 04, or excuse me, the 69 and the 04 might be safe. Entering the Daytona 500. Green flag, though, back out there. R.C. Anderson led this field as they get jumbled up just a little bit. Entering the corner. There's the 84 car. White Knight, we haven't talked much about him since he started the race there. Kind of lost the lead early and has not been able to regain that lost ground at all. Could it happen here in the closing laps of this one? There's Tate Lytle, pushed to the outside,
Bowden
and
in the
another
wall.
competitor hard in the wall.
Yeah, that's Colin Bowden out into the wall there by Tate Lytle. So that's probably going to take out that 69 car. Going to be big damage on that one too. So race continues on.
And actually, who was able to pass him with Trey Holmes in that 88 car. So not so much damage that Holmes is out of it. In fact, if there's not another open car, he might have put himself in position because of that move. 37 car on the back bumper of R.C. Anderson there, who now begins to fade back. They are going to have a big run. Can you block it in that 50 car?
Yeah, Morel has really bailed off that 50 to try to get a run that's going to let everybody get a big run.
Yeah, and the
And
50.
you see him, he's like a roadblock in the middle, in the sucker hole. They go around him on both sides. Ethan Burrell powering through in the outside lane, but here comes Bernie Moore in the 13.
Chad Thornquist, who we haven't talked about at all tonight, he's now running up in this third position, second on that bottom lane behind Brody Moore. What a run he's having here.
White flag going to be in the win. 1 lap to go here. Matthew Weeks in that 11 car and Tate Lytle, all of Pro Edge Racing, trying to settle it amongst themselves in that outside line. They get a great head of steam entering turn number 1, and Ethan Burrell pushed by Matthew Weeks in that 11 car. Here comes Tate Lytle. Where did he come from? Pro Edge Racing.
Tate always finds a way, doesn't he? But, here we go. We've got a little bit of chaos going on behind. We got guys 4 wide, 3 wide, and they're already spinning and crashing out.
Don't know if that's going to trigger the yellow flag there as Ethan Burrell's able to cover the spot. Matthew Weeks and Tate Lytle. It's a family affair up front. Tate Lytle wants to try and take second place away. He has help from the 28 of Joshua Clark, but it's not going to be enough to deny the 37 car win.
No, Tate! Oh, my God.
I feel so terrible for Tate.
Ethan Burrell scores the win in the DH Design duel number 2 as Tate Lytle takes a flying ride into the catfish with others.
Whew. That was a ride and a half for Tate Lytle there. Wow. We're going to have to watch the replay on that one, but oh my gosh, Ethan Burrell grabs the win there. Chad Thornquist P2 and David Tooker P3. Whew.
Wasn't Pro Edge 1, 2, 3, 4 coming off of 4, and they only won the race?
Well, they were, as any competitor, Rich, you said it earlier in Duel 1, you have friends until turn 4. After that, it's every man for himself. Tate Lytle taking that to heart there in a big way.
Wow, that was a huge hit for that 56 car. We'll take a look at this again here. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Craziness.
You're right. Pro Edge is 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. That is not how it's going to end here, folks. Take a look at this hit.
Some Weeks goes to the inside. Tate tries to go. He goes on the apron and flips him, and there he goes. above the flag stand for Tate Lytle.
Tate Lytle able to make contact, or excuse me, make eye contact with the flagger to came across the start-finish line.
Yeah, well, Ethan Burrell.
Interesting though, the scoring loop did count up that high. It did score him in the eighth or ninth spot.
So, in terms of who advances, because that's something we also need to pay attention to, I believe Caleb Thompson is going to be the first driver who advances in this round, in this particular duel, as well as I believe Mark Rebelass is the next one in P11, and that could mean that Jordan Owens, who finished P8 in that first duel, will also advance. So that heartbreak from about an hour ago for Jordan Owens, could be actually racing the Daytona 500 next week.
That's awesome. That's why it's never over until it's over.
It really isn't, but wow.
Ethan Burrell taking a victory lap. Rightfully so. Car is going to be starting in the outside fourth position there, along with Dylan James, who was able to get the win early in duel number 1. Pro Edge Racing, though, they worked hard. They had, at one point, had covered the top 4 spots toward the last lap. It just didn't end that way, but I think all of Pro Edge can be happy tonight with what we saw here.
Yeah, they can be happy. I think know what they need to do for the 500. I think if they're in the 500 and 4 of those cars coming off of turn 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's pretty promising. And of course, hell, I think they wouldn't mind either if only one of their cars wins. You do a pretty good job at guaranteeing one of your cars will win when you're 1, 2, 3, 4 off turn 4. So
it's amazing to me how many times we've seen cars. I mean, get to me. Remember the finish to Indy a couple, just last year, where those cars, they were so close. They were running inside the top 2, and how many positions they lost between turn 4 and the start-finish line. And this one was right in the trial. Like, Tate Lytle had a look to the inside before he got turned there, and he was in the second position before all hell broke loose in a big way, and he went sailing.
Tate was what,
beyond
150 feet from getting through this thing clean, and he ends up just taking an aircraft lesson there in the.
I told you, Chris. I told you. We tried to tell you.
It's been a long time since I've seen a car fly that high at Daytona. It's man.
Please forward all hate mail to Chris. You will be taking all of our accounts. Chris and I were not involved in this.
Man, we've got Ethan Burrell in here with us. Ethan, man, Pro Edge Racing 1, 2, 3, 4, heading off of turn number 4, and then all hell broke loose after that. But you still grabbed that win. Tucker still grabbed third, and despite being about 150 feet in the air, Tate still walked away with 9th place. And some good results for Weeks and Clark inside the top 10 as well. Talk us through that race and that finish as well. Oh, Ethan Burrell, you got a copy? Shoot, I don't think we have Ethan. Man, all right, that's unfortunate. Hopefully we'll get him in here relatively soon. He's just left the broadcast room. Let's try this again here. All right, let's try this again. Ethan Burrell, you got a copy? Nope, he does not. Oh, that'd be a shame if we couldn't get to speak to him. Ethan?
I got a copy now. You guys
Hey, there we go. Ethan Burrell, man. I don't know if you heard what I said initially, but 1, 2, 3, 4 for your team off of turn number 4 on the last lap there. Didn't end that way, but you grabbed the win and some good results for the rest of your teammates all inside the top 10 there. Talk us through the night and some of the positives I think that you took away from it, because you guys looked pretty much in control for a lot of that race.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. It was a good qual run earlier today. I fight a little bit better than I normally do at Daytona, so that was a good takeaway, and I just wanted to go out there and have a good time, being in charge and locked in, with a qual lap, and just finding the clean air, man. I'm really happy with this with the package update at the plate tracks, and working a lot in that race with David Tooker. I mean, that was nothing new. RC Anderson as well. Shout out to those guys for working with me a bunch tonight. And man, this package is fun, and I think it's going to make for a really good Daytona 250 next week.
Well, first, I got to say there, Ethan, is that my man E-Dog in victory lane?
Yes, sir. You know it. Hopefully the first of many this year, huh?
Great to see you there. And I document when you go back to the race, there were some moves. I mean, there was one move you put on the 61 car that was just so expertly timed. So expertly timed there that it got you out front. It stalled out all the momentum on the inside line, and then you were able to take David Tooker to the promised land, it seemed like. But you mentioned the new package. What is it about this package that you like that just allows you, in this style of racing, you to thrive?
I think it helps. You're not as stuck to kind of a big single file line. You guys were touching on that a lot earlier in the first. It's definitely true. It gives more of a chance to the guy following to build a run and actually jump up to the top. And before last season, you just stall out unless you had at least half the field there with you. But you actually have an opportunity to go up there and actually make it happen. And man, it's just out there in the momentum game, right? Trying to stay in share line, and sometimes you just got to get right up on the bumper and shove them out. It definitely, I think it's definitely bringing us up.
I think we're losing you there a little bit there, Ethan.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Unfortunately, we're getting about every other word there, but
okay, I apologize.
No, not your fault there, buddy. But we're so glad that you had a great run here.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, hopefully you guys got me okay now. But I just want to shout out everyone at Pro Edge Racing, Elite Racing League, putting this on. JD Designs, best sponsor out there, makes some awesome schemes, and all the guys at Pro Edge Racing for rolling with me tonight and all season long.
All right, well, congratulations, Ethan Burrell. You're going to be starting on the second row there for the 500, grabbing some well-deserved points as well here in duel number 2. So congratulations, man.
Yep, thank you, guys.
All right, Ethan Burrell there. Some internet issues there, but he's going to grab that win over Chad Thornquist and David Tooker. Those guys will line up on each of those respective rows in the order in which they finished. The night, though, largely was about the open drivers, and we're just going to recap for you. 6 drivers ended up making the field of the 18 open drivers who attempted. Those drivers are Craig Arvanites, as well as, who else did we have there? We had Craig Arvanites, we had Dylan Jones, we had Caleb Thompson, Jordan Owens, we had, let me just grab my list. I said Caleb Thompson, Mark Rebelas, Jordan Owens, I said all those guys, Dylan Jones, Craig Arvanites, and Jesse Razimus. So congratulations to those 6 drivers racing their way or qualifying their way into the Daytona 500. They're going to be racing for all that glory there next Wednesday night. And for us here, man, that it's been an exciting few hours here in Daytona Beach. 2 pretty exciting races, a pretty crazy qualifying session as well. I've been thoroughly enjoying what we're seeing so far, and can't wait for the rest of Speed Weeks to finish up and let's get the Daytona 500 and the season officially underway.
Yeah, the clash was great here, but it's always, there's something about, even virtually, once you return back to Daytona after an off season, there's just some magic about it that never gets old for our sport. Whether it be in real life, whether it be on iRacing, no matter what, Daytona holds a special place for any racer from all ages. And so just so glad that we could start off yet another season here for you guys on the Elite Racing Network. Can't wait for what should be a very exciting race next week. I heard Ethan say that it was Daytona 250, so I don't know if we're running the full 500 or if we've cut that to 100 laps. But no matter the results, it's going to be fun, especially with this package.
Definitely. I haven't heard anything about it being shortened. I So yeah, we'll see about that. We'll keep you guys updated. I expect it still to be 500 laps though, unless we hear something different.
500 miles
Or 500 miles,
please,
not 500 laps. Excuse me,
How
dear
many
God.
miles are you trying to run, Rich?
I did not sign up for the Daytona 24 hours.
It's been a long night, boys. Oh boy.
I don't know if these guys will make 500 miles with all these cars clean, let alone 500 laps.
Oh man, I'm ready. I'm ready for a field of modifieds heading towards the green-white checker there at the end of 500 miles. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, guys. So I think we're gonna hang it up here from the booth. I want to give a shout out to Chad for once again having a great league to be able to call this there. All of our partners as well. Chris, also thank you for joining us. That was fun to have. I still think you've jinxed a couple of people there in the booth there, but it's probably still us there, Rich. It's probably still our fault. It's the proximity thing.
100%.
I want to shout out you guys. Thanks for inviting me up here tonight. It was a lot of fun to do it. Obviously, I'm not running this series, so I'll be watching whether I'm sitting up here with you guys or just sitting on top of a pit box watching these guys run around, and very much seeing how these cars race, how everything goes, and maybe making a decision, in a couple months to get back out on track based on how everything goes. But thank you guys and Chad for giving me the opportunity to be a part of a broadcast team, and keep coming back. And man, I'm really excited to see how these things race next week here at Daytona after what we've seen tonight.
Next week, you definitely do not want to miss wherever you at. So be sure to join us here. It'll be 8:30 Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. It's going to be February 9th right here on YouTube. But from Daytona, for both duels, we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. We'll see you next week right here on the Elite Racing Network.